Chapter 69. You overestimate yourself. Du Lin curled his lips, his eyes filled with disdain. Su Yu was indeed very strong. His utilization of various martial arts techniques was just as the rumors said, surpassing level 6 peak of the martial path. However, in Du Lin's eyes it was nothing. With a cold, killing intent in his heart, Du Lin brazenly attacked. Dong, the distant sound of the bell pierced through the heavens and the earth. Du Lin shuddered and his expression changed. He looked back at the center of the heavenly sanctuary. There was an ancient hall floating in the clouds, and it was faintly discernible. The sound of a bell rang out from within. The senior disciples who were watching the show were also shocked and in awe. Dong, the second bell rang. What? The Holy King bell rang a second time? Du Lin was shocked. Without hesitation, he rushed toward the heavenly sanctuary, not even caring about Su Yu. The rest of the senior disciples also dashed away with reverence on their faces. Whoosh, 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 in the distance, there were numerous figures flying towards the ancient palace in the clouds in unison from all over the place. Su Yu and Xia Jingyu looked at each other in dismay. Did the sound of the bell contain a deep meaning? Whoosh, when a green-white figure flew past Su Yu's side, it stopped for a moment and lightly reprimanded. The Holy King has summoned you. Why aren't you heading over quickly? This person was Qiu Changjian. Holy King summoning? Su Yu was shocked. The Fenglin Empire, no, more accurately, the legend of the Nine Empires Alliance, the Holy King, wanted to summon them? Without hesitation, Su Yu and Xia Jingyu hurried over with Qiu Changjian. Along the way, Qiu Changjian explained, in the Holy King Hall, there is a Holy King bell. Only a Holy King can ring it. 1 knock signifies a Holy King summon, 2 knocks signifies an emergency summon. Qiu Changjian furrowed his brows, his heart filled with worry. Su Yu's eyes flickered as he asked, Senior Brother Qiu, may I ask if emergency summons occur frequently? When Qiu Changjian heard this, he shook his head solemnly. An emergency summon has only happened twice in the history of the sanctuary. The first time was when the sanctuary was established and they urgently summoned their disciples to participate in the sanctuary convention. After 100 years, this is the second emergency summon. Su Yu's pupils contracted. When the sanctuary was established, there was only one emergency summon. And now it had appeared once again. What did this mean? Was it a good thing or a bad thing? Xia Jingyu's pretty face turned serious. Senior Brother Qiu, you often meet with the Holy King. Don't tell me you don't know what happened? She and Su Yu remembered that after Qiu Changjian brought them back, he had urgently reported to the Holy King. Could this be the reason? Who knew that Qiu Changjian would laugh at himself, often? Junior sister Xia thinks too highly of senior brother Qiu. The holy disciple is only his disciple in name. What right do I have to meet him? I've been in the holy region for 15 years, and I was lucky enough to see him once when I was promoted to a holy disciple. I haven't seen him in the past 15 years. Qiu Changjian had a look of respect on his face. The Holy King is in seclusion all year round. If he has any instructions, he will pass it directly to the outside of the palace. His true appearance is almost never revealed to the public. After saying this, Qiu Changjian said enviously, with this urgent summon, the Holy King will definitely come out of seclusion. You are very lucky to be able to see the Holy King come out of seclusion as soon as you arrive. You should know that even the old holy disciple who has been here for 10 years never had the chance to see the Holy King in person. Was it luck? The seriousness in Su Yu's eyes had yet to dissipate. In a split second, a group of people arrived in front of the Holy King Palace within the mist. They bowed their heads respectfully. The 10 great holy disciples, 10 great prospective holy disciples, and countless old prospective holy disciples were all present. There were more than 100 people. No matter who it was, no one dared to breathe loudly. It was eerily quiet. Creak. The ancient stone door slowly opened. The The vicissitudes of life engulfed the area. Amidst the swirling clouds, a stone door opened, revealing an ancient hall that was filled with a dark and deep radiance. The Holy King had not appeared. Suyu tried to use his pupils. He had long achieved the ability to see in the dark. But as he looked, his gaze could not penetrate the darkness. It was as if there was a layer of holy power blocking in front of him. Sigh. An old sigh could be heard. A faint sense of apology filled the hearts of the people. This urgent summon is for one thing. The Holy King's voice was faint and distant. It was clearly coming from within the palace, but to the ears, it was as if it came from beyond the 9 heavens, far away. Inside the palace, there was a long silence. Then, the old voice of the Holy King came slowly. That is, the sanctuary, from today onwards, disband. The ethereal voice drilled into the ears, but it was no less than a heaven-shaking hammer. The sanctuary was disbanded? The sanctuary of the alliance of the 9 empires, the holy land of martial arts for hundreds of millions of martial artists, was disbanded? No one could remain calm from the upheaval. Even the eldest disciple, senior brother Zhao, senior brother Zhang, and Qiu Changjian, found it difficult to accept. In an instant, more than 100 people whispered, inexplicably shocked. This news, for them, was equivalent to the collapse of the heavens and the earth. Master! Swish, 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 10 figures knelt down. They were the 10 great holy disciples. Master, please take back the order. Qiu Changjian was shocked, unable to bear such a drastic change. Such a huge, sacred region was actually disbanded overnight? Holy King, please take back the order. Swish, swish, swish. The 10 great holy disciples knelt down, their eyes filled with horror. Swish, swish, swish. Hundreds of older disciples knelt down, their eyes pleading. If the sanctuary was disbanded, where would they go? In the dark palace, the Holy King sighed. If I could, I would not want to. This matter has been decided. Other than the 10 great holy disciples, the rest of the martial artists should prepare to leave the sanctuary tomorrow. Holy King! The sound of mourning was endless. To them, this day was no less than the end of the world. Looking at the whole world, only the sanctuary could nurture them to go further on the path of martial arts. The sanctuary was disbanded, and they returned to the mortal world as ordinary martial artists, unable to advance any further. Su Yu and Xia Jingyu were dazed. They had entered the sanctuary yesterday, but today the sanctuary was disbanded. Where would they go in the future? Xia Jingyu could return to the Martial Arts Training Institute, but what about Su Yu? Without the resources of the sanctuary, how could Su Yu improve his strength and enter Fenghuang Valley? A trace of power came from within the palace. It made one's heart palpitate, their blood boiling. The mourning disciples shut their mouths in shock and kept quiet out of fear. A trace of cold sweat covered their foreheads. The Holy King was angry. This matter has been decided. The Holy King's order was not to be disobeyed. It spread throughout the heavenly sanctuary and the mortal sanctuary. These words announced a shocking upheaval in the alliance of the 9 empires. The sanctuary was disbanded. However, at this moment of absolute silence, no. A youth stood ramrod straight and said a single word in a loud voice. This word was tantamount to defying the will of the Holy King. Step down. An indifferent old voice came from within the dark room, as if it could command the heavens and earth. However, the order did not move. The skinny youth. I have a place I must go, a person I must see, and a reason I must stay. Su Yu's voice was loud and clear, shaking the hearts of the people. Holy King, please grant me my wish. Su Yu bowed. He had to rely on the sanctuary to cultivate and strengthen himself. Xian'er was his fiancée, he had to see her. I do not wish to repeat myself. A trace of oppressive power came crashing down. The Holy King was furious. Su Yu felt as if he was being crushed by Mount Tai. The infinite power caused his body to tremble. His organs trembled violently, his blood flowing rapidly. Incomparable pain came from all over his body, and blood flowed from his mouth. However, Su Yu stood upright, his starry eyes bursting with unprecedented sharpness. With his mouth full of blood, he clenched his teeth and said with difficulty, "Please, Holy King, grant me my wish." Everyone's heart trembled. Where was he going? Who was he going to see? Why was he so stubborn, to the point of confronting the Holy King? The skinny youth, in the hearts of everyone, suddenly became infinitely tall. Qiu Changjian's eyes trembled, his heart moved. For a favor, Su Yu had traveled thousands of miles to the imperial capital, narrowly escaping death in a battle of heroes. For a love, he was now publicly opposing the Holy King. Even if there were millions of people, he would still go. Walala, in the dark hall, there was suddenly a bright brilliance. The inside of the hall was clearly visible. An old man with white hair and a white beard, with a ruddy complexion, was emaciated. He had a sage-like demeanor, like an old immortal in a book. He was clearly sitting cross-legged, but the crowd could not see him clearly. It was as if this was just a projection of him in time and space, illusory and difficult to distinguish. He was the legend of the Alliance of the Nine Empires, the Holy King. His old eyes were as calm as an ancient well, without any ripples. At this moment, he indifferently stared at Su Yu, his tone murderous. "You think I do not dare to kill you? Anyone who defied the will of the Holy King would be killed, and everyone in the world would applaud. The Holy King was the legend of the Holy King. Defying him deserved to die." Su Yu's mouth was full of blood. At this moment, he clenched his teeth. "No! You will kill me!" That murderous intent told Su Yu that the Holy King regarded the common people as ants. Killing Su Yu would not burden him in the slightest. "But, if I cannot see the person I want to see, it is no different from death." Su Yu enunciated each word, his deep eyes filled with unprecedented determination. If he could not increase his abilities, he would definitely be erased from the world by Fenghuang Valley. Sooner or later, he would die. No different from death? What kind of burden was this skinny body carrying? The crowd was moved. "You want to tell me that you are not afraid of death?" The Holy King's heart was cold, the murderous intent in his eyes even more awe-inspiring. He had lived for hundreds of years, and there were countless strong-willed people. Su Yu could not shake his murderous intent. "I am afraid." Su Yu spat out blood, "but I am even more afraid of dying with regret." Dying with regret? The Holy King seemed to recall something. His old eyes moved for the first time. After a long silence, the Holy King sighed deeply. "What a good dying with regret! If I had your resolve back then, perhaps it would have been a different experience." The crowd was shocked. Su Yu had moved the Holy King. If that was the case, wouldn't he be able to stay? However, the Holy King's voice suddenly turned cold as he firmly shook his head. "But I cannot keep you. You are too weak. Only the 10 great holy disciples can barely keep up with me." Su Yu clenched his teeth, his body on the verge of collapse. His mouth was full of blood as he growled, "Then, I will become a holy disciple." These words shook the hearts of everyone. The sanctuary had existed for hundreds of years, but there were very few holy disciples. In the last few decades, the only person who had become a holy disciple was Qiu Changjian. Countless would-be holy disciples left the sanctuary in dejection. No one knew how many of them had left. What made Su Yu think he could become a holy disciple? But at this moment, no one laughed at him. This was because Su Yu's unwavering spirit had deeply shocked their numb hearts. When they first came to the sanctuary, who did not set the goal of becoming a holy disciple? But the cruel reality had polished their spirit. Until Su Yu defied the Holy King. His spirit was like a rainbow, shocking everyone. Countless people were moved. Who was he going to meet? Who would give him the courage to go against the Holy King? The Holy King stared at Su Yu indifferently, slowly shaking his head. "You can't. His words were like a judgment. The Holy King's eyes were shrewd and ruthless. He could predict a person's future with just a glance. Only 1% was left, unless it was a stroke of luck. "I can do it!" Su Yu roared. He came from a humble background. When Qin Feng stole his woman, he was just the lowliest silver student. Now, hadn't he stepped into the sanctuary worshipped by hundreds of millions of martial artists? The words, "I can do it," made everyone's blood boil. Countless disciples secretly clenched their fists. Many people suddenly understood that the reason they had been stagnant for so many years was not because of resources, but because of determination like Su Yu, a determination that would not regret even in death. Staring at that pair of persistent eyes, the Holy King suddenly felt a little dazzling. But not only did it not move him, it completely enraged him. With a cold expression, the Holy King slowly got up. His terrifying aura that could destroy heaven and earth made people shudder. "Step down or die," the Holy King said. That one sentence completely destroyed all possibilities. Chapter 70. Su Yu's heart was filled with sorrow. He had thought that once he entered the sanctuary, he could slowly cultivate. Given time, when his strength was high enough, he would be able to see Xiener openly. Unexpectedly, the sanctuary had changed and was about to be dissolved. Fate had made a fool of him. Not only had he lost the opportunity to cultivate, but he had also been killed by the Holy King. Whoosh, a beautiful figure flew in front of Su Yu. "Holy King, please give him a chance." Xia Jingyu bowed, kowtowing and pleading. She was touched by Su Yu's persistence, but bitter that he had risked his life for Xiener. The Holy King's murderous intent deepened. "Step down or you will die too. Please grant my wish, Holy King." Xia Jingyu kowtowed, her eyes filled with determination. "Humph! How dare you?" The Holy King was furious. One person had challenged his authority, but now another person had come. Where was his authority? With a single thought, the Holy King could decide the life and death of both of them. But at this moment, "Master, please give Su Yu a chance." Qiu Changjian kowtowed, his heart trembling. Only by understanding Su Yu's past could he understand Su Yu's persistence. For gratitude and affection, he did not hesitate to give up his life. It would be a pity for such a passionate person to perish. Even you. The Holy King was shocked for the first time. His 10 nominal disciples, immersed in his authority all year round, did not even dare speak loudly. But now, for Su Yu, they had defied his will. "Holy King, please give Su Yu a chance." Whoosh whoosh whoosh, countless older prospective holy disciples kowtowed in unison. The wills of 100 people gathered in a single line and kowtowed in unison. They had been moved by Su Yu. In order to see a person, he did not hesitate to rebel against the Sage King. Even if there were millions of people, he would still go forward. Why couldn't such a person be given a chance? "You!" The Holy King was furious. For Su Yu, all the disciples had defied him. 3 people made a tiger. 1 person objected, but the Holy King dismissed it with a laugh. 2 objected, but faced it seriously. 3 objected, but faced it seriously. Now 100 people objected. Even the Holy King couldn't help but ask himself if he had made the wrong decision. Looking at the pleading faces, the Holy King's heart trembled. After a long silence, he shot a fierce gaze at Su Yu, his murderous intent still present. "Good. I'll give you a chance. I'll also give all of you a chance. You can stay in the holy region for another month. If you can advance to become a holy disciple in the wind and cloud competition a month later, there's no harm in keeping you by my side." The Holy King finally chose to take a step back. However, the price of this step was extremely bloody. He stared at Su Yu and said coldly, "But Su Yu, if you do not achieve the strength of a holy disciple in a month, how do you think I should deal with you?" Su Yu's heart turned cold. The Holy King, who was a legend in terms of martial prowess, was forced to retreat by him, causing his prestige to fall to the ground. He was already being magnanimous by not killing Su Yu on the spot. If Su Yu was unable to satisfy him after a month, the consequences could be imagined. Nodding deeply, Su Yu said solemnly, "I know, die." The Holy King said coldly, "That's right, die. But the one who died wasn't you, it was her." The Holy King pointed his finger and a strand of strange holy power entered Xia Jingyu's body. Xia Jingyu snorted softly as she felt some kind of destructive power in her body. "If I do not withdraw my holy power, she will explode and die in a month." The Holy King's voice was cold and filled with anger. Su Yu's expression changed greatly. "I was the one who defied you, why would you let her die?" Swish, the Holy King flicked his sleeves and left. One moment he was in front of Su Yu, the next moment he was in the palace, as if he had teleported. Even if Su Yu used his full control of time, he would not be able to achieve such a speed. Slap, the palace fell into darkness as the huge stone door slowly closed. Before the door closed, the cold voice of the Holy King could be heard. "For someone who does not care about death, the true pain is not death, but the loss of someone close to you." Su Yu stared at Xia Jingyu absent-mindedly, unable to express his inner remorse. He should have been the one to bear the threat of death, but it had landed on the innocent Xia Jingyu. "Jingyu, I..." At this moment, Su Yu felt indescribably guilty. Xia Jingyu's expression was calm as she smiled. "I'm fine." Although she tried her best to restrain herself, she could not hide the slight fluctuations in her voice, revealing her inner instinctive fear of death. Xia Jingyu smiled and comforted him. "Su Yu, if you can find Xiener, I will die without regrets." Su Yu's heart trembled, his heart aching. He owed Xia Jingyu too much, and would never be able to repay her. "Jingyu, I will not let you die." Su Yu was silent for a long time, his eyes filled with determination, the same determination he had when he risked his life for Xiener. Staring at Su Yu's gaze, Xia Jingyu's heart thumped. The fear of death had dimmed, replaced by a sense of tranquility. Her smile was like a lotus flower in summer, pure and beautiful. "Brother Yu, you can do it." Xia Jingyu pursed her lips, her face slightly red like the sunset. The words "Brother Yu" had brought the two of them closer. Xia Jingyu was 14 and so was Su Yu. He was only a few months older than Xia Jingyu, so they should have been the same age. Thus, Xia Jingyu had never called him that. Su Yu's heart was filled with warmth. He owed Xia Jingyu too much. The most important thing right now was to save her life. He had to crazily cultivate within a month and reach the standards of a holy disciple. Swish, Qiu Changjian walked over, his eyes filled with deep admiration. Before this, he had only admired Su Yu. "Su Yu, good job!" Qiu Changjian exclaimed. He glanced at Xia Jingyu, deeply moved. He could not help but secretly envy Su Yu. With such a beauty in his life, what more could he ask for? Qiu Changjian's tone turned serious. "Do you have the confidence to reach the standards of a holy disciple?" "I do not know what the standards of a holy disciple are," Su Yu said bluntly. Qiu Changjian's eyes flashed. "It's simple, defeat me." Among the 10 great holy disciples, Qiu Changjian was ranked 10th. He was the weakest holy disciple. According to the rules, defeating the 10th ranked holy disciple would give one the qualifications to become a holy disciple. Su Yu was shocked. Qiu Changjian, level 9 lower tier, could kill Su Yu with a flick of his finger. Such powerful abilities were the standards of a holy disciple? If that was the case, would Su Yu have to reach level 9 lower tier to save Xia Jingyu's life? Let me ask you again, do you have a specific training plan? Qiu Changjian's eyes shone. Su Yu shook his head, training in seclusion, then sparring. Qiu Changjian softly reprimanded, "If it is such an ordinary training method, then you can only watch as junior sister Xia dies. Master's assertion that you will never become a holy disciple is not a lie." Qiu Changjian said sternly. Su Yu's heart trembled. "Senior brother Qiu, please guide me." Qiu Changjian's eyes flashed. I can indeed guide you on a path of rapid breakthrough, but it is unpredictable and dangerous. You could easily lose your life. Are you willing to try? Almost without hesitation, Su Yu nodded. My life has long been out of consideration. Jingyu's life is the most important. He would rather die than be a burden to Xia Jingyu. All right, come with me, Qiu Changjian said. Xia Jingyu's steps fluttered as she chased after him. I'll go too. I could die in a month anyway. Qiu Changjian hesitated, then nodded in agreement. A moment later, the group descended from the heavenly sanctuary, arriving at the southeast corner of the mortal sanctuary. There, the forest was dense and primordial. The area was vast, at least 100 miles wide. A cold and gloomy aura filled the forest, making people shudder. That is the evil forest, Qiu Changjian said. Countless vicious villains have been banished there. Each of their strength is extraordinary, and they are all infamous villains in the alliance of the 9 empires. Some are ruthless killers, some have raped and killed countless innocent women. Not only are they extremely powerful, but they are often cruel and cunning. They are difficult to capture. The Empire Alliance requested the sanctuary to send a holy disciple to capture them and banish them to the evil forest. They are not allowed to take a step out of the forest, or they will be killed without mercy. With the Holy King in charge, how could the villains dare to take a step out of the forest? Xia Jingyu did not understand. If they are so cruel, why not bring them to justice? Wouldn't it be a disaster to leave them alive? That's a good question, Qiu Changjian praised. Banishing them to the evil forest instead of killing them is to give the sanctuary disciples actual combat experience. In the midst of battle, they strive to advance and stimulate the progress of their cultivation base. In the past 100 years, many disciples have disappeared from the sanctuary. Most of them have left, and the rest forever in the evil forest. Su Yu's heart trembled, and he could not help but ask, so, what is the strength of these villains? Qiu Changjian's expression was solemn, and he was extremely worried. The weakest is level 7 of the martial path. The strongest is level 9 lower tier of the martial path. The weakest was level 7 of the martial path? Su Yu and Xia Jingyu gasped in shock. As expected of the villains that shook the alliance of the 9 empires, none of them were easy to deal with. Xia Jingyu found it difficult to understand. Senior brother Qiu, do you mean to let us enter the forest to fight the villains? We have seen the danger, but where is the opportunity to break through? Fighting to the death could indeed increase one's cultivation base, but the effect of sparring was not that much weaker. This risk was not worth it. Qiu Changjian praised. Very good, you've asked the key question. Fighting to the death is indeed difficult to advance one's cultivation base by leaps and bounds, but every criminal has a saint-grade spirit elixir. Su Yu was no stranger to spirit elixirs. He had taken them many times. But what was a saint-grade spirit elixir? Looking at Xia Jingyu, she was equally puzzled. The saint-grade spirit elixir is a modified version of the spirit elixir consumed by the martial artists of the mortal world. The refining materials are different, but the effects are as different as heaven and earth. Let's put it this way, the effect of 100 top-grade spirit elixirs is far inferior to one saint-grade spirit elixir. With the cultivation bases of both of you at level 5 peak, swallowing a saint-grade spirit elixir will allow you to break through to level 6 upper tier without any suspense, crossing 2 levels. Of course, as your cultivation base increases, the effect will weaken, and it will be difficult to make a breakthrough again. But, to put it bluntly, this is the fastest way to break through in the sanctuary. Su Yu's breathing quickened, and Xia Jingyu's eyes lit up. Breaking through to level 6 upper tier in one go? This was unimaginable in the mortal world. In addition, the level 9 criminals also have 2 divine-grade spirit elixirs. Their effects are even more amazing. Qiu Changjian's eyes lit up at the mention of divine-grade spirit elixirs. and divine-grade spirit elixirs? Chapter 71. In that instant, both Su Yu and Xia Jingyu saw hope. Qiu Changjian let out a long laugh. Looks like you have made up your minds. Prepare yourself, the evil forest will only open tomorrow. By the way, as new prospective holy disciples, you have the opportunity to enter the Sanctuary Divine Pavilion once to choose your cultivation techniques and weapons, Qiu Changjian said, then left. The sanctuary was about to be disbanded, so he naturally had to discuss with the other holy disciples and find out what was going on. Su Yu bowed gratefully. Qiu Changjian had helped him a lot. A moment later, Su Yu and Xia Jingyu entered the Sanctuary Divine Pavilion. Inside, there were many cultivation techniques and weapons. Su Yu casually glanced at them. What surprised him was that even the lowest-level cultivation techniques were placed randomly on the ground, untouched by anyone. On the surrounding counters, there were 100 cultivation techniques neatly arranged. Upon closer inspection, they were all saint-level cultivation technique. In the entire Fenglin Empire, only the royal family had one saint-level cultivation technique. Here, there were 100 of them. Xia Jingyu was immediately filled with joy as she chose a saint-level cultivation technique that suited her. Su Yu was very interested as he flipped through the saint-level cultivation techniques one by one. There were many types, too many for Su Yu's eyes to take in. He had the thought of trying to cultivate many of the cultivation techniques, but he was extremely rational and restrained himself. Since he possessed the Purple Star Thunderbolt and Flickering Light Shadow, he would only practice them when he found a suitable cultivation technique. After looking through, there were no cultivation techniques that he needed, so he gave up. Xia Jingyu's eyes were clear, but she did not choose a cultivation technique either. She lightly sighed. There are no cultivation techniques that suit me. Forcing myself to choose will only bring me more harm than good. Su Yu could not help but secretly admire Xia Jingyu for being able to rationally restrain her desires. Suddenly, Su Yu noticed that there seemed to be a hidden layer under the counter where the saint-level cultivation techniques were placed. After Su Yu's eyes had transformed, he could see down to the smallest detail. A tiny crack came into view. He reached out and pulled, effortlessly pulling open the hidden compartment. 3 glowing cultivation techniques appeared before his eyes. One was called Icy Heart Core, one was called Dewdrop Seal, and one was called Infernal Demon Pupils. However, when their eyes fixed on the first book, Su Yu and Xia Jingyu exclaimed in unison, "Deity-level cultivation technique?" In the battle between senior sister Lu and Feng Hao, the saint-level cultivation technique 9 Forms of the Jade Unicorn was born from the deity-level cultivation technique Icy Heart Core. At that time, Su Yu and the others were still puzzled. Could it be that there was a deity level above the saint level? Su Yu raised his hand and grabbed the Icy Heart Core in his palm. At once, cold air assaulted him, and white frost formed on his palm. With the foundation of Tempest, Su Yu did not feel cold in the slightest and flipped open the book with great interest. Icy Heart Core Deity Tier Cultivation Method, divided into 3 major realms: Minor Accomplishment, Great Accomplishment, and Perfection. At the minor success level, your true energy will condense into frost and attach it to external objects. Every blade of grass and tree will become a divine weapon. At the Great Completion realm, one's body will turn into frost. With a wave of one's hand, one can freeze anything. Perfection realm, the heart will condense into an ice heart core, absorbing the cold energy of heaven and earth, increasing one's cultivation and condensing the ice bloodline. The basic requirement for cultivation is to have the foundation of an ice cultivation technique. The core requirement is to have exceptional perception. At the bottom of the title page, there was a comment from the Holy King. All disciples of the sanctuary, if you do not comprehend anything within a day, immediately give up. Otherwise, it will take at least 30 years, and at most 50 years to gain anything. Su Yu's eyes were blazing. This cultivation technique was simply tailor-made for him. He had the foundation of tempest and the control of time. With the flow of time 50 times faster than normal, even with poor perception, it was enough for him to comprehend a thing or two. Su Yu flipped through it on the spot, falling into the accelerated time and space. Xia Jingyu's eyes flickered between the 3 deity tier cultivation technique. She skipped over the infernal demon pupils. This cultivation technique made her uncomfortable. Icy Heart Core also gave up after a moment's consideration. She did not have the foundation of ice. Only the reverie of dewdrops was left. She picked it up and flipped through it. After a moment, her eyes lit up with joy. Obviously, this deity tier cultivation technique was suitable for her to cultivate. Filled with anticipation, Xia Jingyu began to comprehend it on the spot. Time passed slowly. Half a day later, Su Yu slowly opened his eyes, and a thread of coldness shot out from his eyes. Creak, the air around him condensed into a white mist. The water vapor in the air froze into ice needles, falling to the ground with a crisp tinkling sound. A hint of pleasant surprise could be seen on his face. Half a day was equivalent to 25 days in a time that was 50 times faster than normal. Su Yu had successfully comprehended it to the lower class. After the soul mutation at the Holy Meat, my perception seems to have improved by leaps and bounds, Su Yu muttered to himself. Of course, the greatest help was the control of time. Otherwise, with Su Yu's perception, he would have needed a whole month to reach his current state. Seeing that Xia Jingyu was still in a meditative state, Su Yu did not disturb her. He continued to read the remaining 2 deity tier cultivation technique. The reverie of dewdrops was obviously not suitable for Su Yu. Instead, infernal demon pupils made Su Yu's eyes light up. Based on his intuition, it was enveloped by a faint layer of soul energy. Flipping it open, it was as he had expected. Infernal demon pupils, deity tier cultivation technique, secret technique of the soul, divided into 2 parts. Soul searching technique, after successfully cultivating, can forcefully search the soul of a person 1 realm higher than you to search the memories of the person's mind. Soul control technique, after successfully cultivating, can control the opponent's soul and use the soul to control the body to fight. The requirement is that the controlled person is not 1 realm higher than the caster. Su Yu's pupils shrank. It really was a secret technique of the soul, and its effects were shocking. With a burning gaze, Su Yu controlled time and immediately immersed himself in the technique, comprehending it on the spot. Half a day later, Su Yu slowly opened his eyes, filled with surprise. After the soul fusion, his soul talent had completely reached its peak. Cultivating the secret technique of the soul was like water flowing into a canal. A deity tier cultivation technique, a total of 2 parts, was comprehended on the spot. Both the soul searching technique and the soul control technique were controlled at the same time. In one day, he had cultivated 2 deity tier cultivation technique. Su Yu was full of confidence for this trip to the evil forest. At this moment, Xia Jingyu opened her eyes, her pretty face filled with surprise. Brother Yu, I have successfully comprehended it to the lower class. The reverie of dewdrops was also divided into lower class, upper class, and top class. Xia Jingyu had broken through to the lower class in one day. Su Yu secretly gasped. He had accelerated time and space by 50 times and spent a full 25 days to comprehend the lower class. But Xia Jingyu had only spent a day? This was a deity tier cultivation technique. If he did not know Xia Jingyu well, Su Yu would have suspected she was bragging. He suddenly remembered that day under the pear blossom under the moonlight. He had guided Xia Jingyu step by step. In just 10 short times, Xia Jingyu had successfully comprehended Su Yu's holy decree. And now, she had comprehended a deity tier cultivation technique in one day. Xia Jingyu's level of comprehension was 25 times stronger than his. Was this still the level of comprehension of a human? Staring at the smiling Xia Jingyu, Su Yu's scalp went numb. His intuition told him that Xia Jingyu's level of comprehension was extraordinary. This matter could not be spread, or it would be a disaster for Xia Jingyu, not a blessing. Su Yu nodded with a smile. Congratulations, Jingyu, for your great increase in strength. The two of them exchanged their insight. After learning that Su Yu had gained something from both deity-tier cultivation techniques, Xia Jingyu's eyes lit up. It was as if the Su Yu in her memory had such an outstanding level of comprehension. Su Yu blushed with shame. His ability to control the flow of time was cheating. How could he compare to Xia Jingyu's inhuman level of comprehension? Xia Jingyu gave up on the choice of weapons. She was better at physical techniques, and weapons would be a burden. Su Yu felt that his mutated eyes, which allowed him to see far away, were a great advantage. Paired with a bow and arrow, the effect would be impressive. Unfortunately, looking around, there were no suitable bows and arrows. The bows and arrows here were all made of top-quality materials. One needed a strong arm to unleash their power. Su Yu was not good at physical strength, so he could only give up. Just as Su Yu was feeling disappointed, a strange weapon caught his attention. It was a ball of silk thread, as thin as a strand of hair. It was transparent and hard to detect with the naked eye. Su Yu tried to touch it with his finger. Hiss, as if he had been electrocuted, Su Yu quickly retracted his hand. Looking down, his finger had been sliced open. Blood was seeping out, and it was extremely painful. Gasping, Su Yu felt a lingering fear. If he had used a little more force, wouldn't his finger have been severed? What a sharp silk thread! Looking closely, there were introductions all around. Entwined dragon silk, tough and soft. It can withstand a force of 10,000 pounds. Incomparably sharp and indestructible. It can easily cut through gold and silver. Users must be careful. Su Yu's eyes were blazing. Perhaps the entwined dragon silk was more suitable for him than the bow and arrow. After looking at the instructions, Su Yu took out the entwined dragon silk. When the entwined dragon silk was unfolded, its diameter was 100 feet. At the source, there was a simple black jade ring lying quietly. The material was hard and could withstand the entwined dragon silk's cutting. When not in use, the entwined dragon silk could be wrapped around the black jade ring to prevent injury. When in use, the entwined dragon silk could be activated with a flick of the finger. It was simple and convenient to use. In addition, the entwined dragon silk was transparent. It had a miraculous effect on both defense and offense. Su Yu and Xia Jingyu had gained a lot. They immediately rushed to the entrance of the evil forest. At a glance, there was a large group of people waiting for it to open. Among them were familiar faces: Feng Hao, senior sister Lu, and Zhang Mingyi. Moreover, they had all joined Du Lin's team. The 10 great prospective holy disciples each fought on their own, recruiting other prospective holy disciples to form a team and explore the evil forest together. Whether it was for the qualification to become a holy disciple or to obtain a large amount of resources before the sanctuary disbanded, the evil forest was a unique choice. Not only Du Lin, but the other 9 prospective holy disciples were all present. Even the first-ranked prospective holy disciple, Long Xiaoya, a 25-year-old young woman, was present. Her strength was worthy of being the first among the prospective holy disciples. Her level 8 peak strength determined that she was the most qualified to become a holy disciple. Under her command were the second and third-ranked prospective holy disciples. All 3 of them had a cultivation base of level 8. When they joined forces, they were almost invincible in the evil forest. Hearing the commotion around her, Long Xiaoya looked sideways and fixed her gaze on Su Yu's figure. Her watery eyes were calm, like a high and mighty monarch. She said in a condescending tone, "You said what I should have said. After a month, the one to become a holy disciple will be me, not you." Su Yu turned a deaf ear. In the distance, Zhang Mingyi's eyes were filled with resentment. His gaze fell on Xia Jingyu's delicate body, and he could not hide his passion. He smiled and said, "Junior sister Xia, why don't you join my team? Senior brother Du is magnanimous. If you are willing to abandon Su Yu, he can accommodate you." Xia Jingyu responded indifferently, "Senior brother Zhang, take care of yourself. I will go with brother Yu. In the evil forest, without strong guards, you will not survive more than 3 days." Zhang Mingyi stared at Su Yu and sneered. He then stepped into the evil forest with Du Lin. Before Du Lin left, his eyes were filled with killing intent as he coldly stared at Su Yu. It was inconvenient to kill outside the forest. But in the forest, even a holy king would find it difficult to detect how Su Yu died. The hatred of killing his brother was absolutely irreconcilable. Feeling Du Lin's killing intent, Su Yu's heart suddenly turned cold. Did he still think that today's Su Yu was the same newcomer he had bullied yesterday? If they really met, Su Yu would not mind teaching him an unforgettable lesson. Chapter 72. At the entrance to the evil forest, the guards distributed jade hammers and scrolls to those who entered. On the scrolls, detailed information about each slayer was described. The jade hammers were used to take out the elixirs. The elixirs on the slayers were sealed in strong jade bottles and could only be opened by the power of a holy king. The jade hammers contained a trace of the power of a holy king. After putting everything away, Su Yu and Xia Jingyu entered the forest. The forest was vast. Not long after entering, they were completely separated from the other teams. The surroundings fell into silence, only the cold wind in the forest whistled. Xia Jingyu was on guard to guard against any accident. Su Yu smiled and used his pupils to scan in all directions. Within a 5-mile radius, everything was under his control. After looking, he shook his head in disappointment. There were no slayers within 5 miles. The evil forest was divided into the periphery, the inner periphery, and the core. 40 miles were all in the periphery. 40 to 80 miles were in the inner periphery. 20 miles in the center of the forest was the core zone. Slayers usually only appeared in the inner periphery to prevent being discovered and killed by sanctuary disciples. It was said that deep in the inner periphery, there were terrible slayers of level 8 of the martial path. Even in the core zone, there was a level 9 of the martial path slayer. He was the Slayer King and also the king of the evil forest. 2 divine-grade spirit elixirs were with him. After a whole day, they walked through the dense forest for 20 miles with difficulty. Suddenly Su Yu, who was looking ahead, raised his eyebrows, his face grave. He quietly stopped and whispered, "The Slayer has appeared." His expression was grave. Didn't they say that slayers usually only appeared in the inner periphery beyond 40 miles? Why did slayers also appear in the periphery? His mind searched for information about the slayer, and his expression became more serious. It is the famous slayer of the Fenglin Empire, the Shadowless Man. He is good at invisibility, proficient in scheming and killing people. In order to test the mechanism, he once massacred the old, weak, women, and children of a town in a valley. In one night, hundreds of innocent people died. Xia Jingyu's pretty eyes were cold. She had heard of this tragedy when she was young. The slayer was cruel and vicious. Swish, Su Yu and Xia Jingyu bent over and quietly walked through the dense forest. "There is blood. He's injured." Xia Jingyu's eyes were sharp, and she whispered to herself as they arrived near a secret cave entrance. Near the entrance of the cave, there were a few drops of blood that emitted a faint fishy smell. A strange look flashed past Su Yu's eyes, and he slowly nodded. "Let's kill him while he's down." He had no qualms about killing such an inhumane murderer. However, Su Yu's eyes were calm, and he didn't act impulsively. Instead, he said in a serious voice, "There is a trap at the entrance of the cave. It must have been set up before he was injured to prevent enemies from invading." Xia Jingyu took a closer look, only to discover that the ground at the entrance of the cave was slightly strange. If not for Su Yu's reminder, she wouldn't have noticed it. He was indeed the Shadowless, who was proficient in traps and calculations. Hold on to me. I will use my lightness technique to fly past the trap. Su Yu stood up slowly. The trap occupied the entire ground of the cave. He could only execute floating light shadow and fly forward like a dragonfly skimming the surface of the water. Xia Jingyu's snow-white cheeks instantly turned crimson. She was so embarrassed that it seemed like water was about to drip out. Pursing her red lips, Xia Jingyu's beautiful eyes trembled. Finally, she bit her teeth, closed her eyes, and threw herself into Su Yu's embrace. It was warm, broad, and firm. It was the same feeling she had felt when she was in his embrace under the moonlight. This familiar feeling, which she hadn't felt in a long time, made her feel excited and peaceful. This chest was something she would never forget. Su Yu's expression turned stiff. He had only wanted Xia Jingyu to hold on to his waist, but Xia Jingyu's entire body fell into his embrace. Her soft, delicate, and fragrant body was wrapped in a fragrant wind as she tightly nestled in his embrace. Their bodies' warmth was transmitted to each other. A pair of smooth and soft breasts pressed against Su Yu's chest, causing his face to turn slightly red. Since things had come to this, Su Yu had no way of explaining himself. He went with the flow and held onto her slender waist. Her willowy waist was shockingly soft and resilient, causing people to lust over it. What a wonderful body! She was already so perfect at the age of 14. How outstanding would she be when she was 18? In his previous life, he had played around with countless women, but none of them could compare to the beauty in front of him. But Xiener's petite and adorable face flashed in his mind, and Su Yu quickly calmed down. Taking a deep breath, Su Yu displayed floating light shadow. His figure was like a swallow flying among the waves of the river, treading on the waves. With the tip of his toes, he floated 10 meters away. His body was as light as a swan, carrying the beauty as he traveled with the wind. Swoosh! He easily avoided the huge trap at the entrance of the cave, and his figure flashed into the cave. But Su Yu did not rush in. Instead, he hugged Xia Jingyu and gently bent over. There was an extremely fine steel wire at the entrance of the cave. If it wasn't for Su Yu's magical eyes, he would have been fooled. The steel wire was the trigger mechanism. There were 3 sharp axes above their head. If they touched the steel wire, they would be split in half by the axes descending from the sky. A series of traps. Xia Jingyu gasped. The Obscure's plan was flawless. She had dodged one trap, not knowing that she had fallen into another trap. Luckily, Su Yu had detected it in time. Bending over to pass through the steel wire, the situation within the cave was clearly visible. A middle-aged man with bleeding legs was moaning painfully on the ground. His appearance was that of the Obscure. His cultivation base had reached the frightening level 7 lower tier. Hey, it's actually 2 level 5 juniors. The Obscure exclaimed, greatly surprised. Whoosh! What made Xia Jingyu's expression change was that the Obscurer, who was clearly injured, stood up and scathed. His eyes were filled with cruelty as he sized up Su Yu and Xia Jingyu. Fine, it's enough to have the jade hammers. I spent a lot of effort to lure you sanctuary disciples here. The Obscure's lips curved into a mocking smile. Su Yu and Xia Jingyu were shocked at the same time. If that was the case, the Obscure's injuries were to lure the sanctuary disciples into the cave? The blood outside the cave was deliberately left behind to create the illusion that the Obscure was seriously injured. His original intention was to take away the jade hammers on them. What a cunning Obscure! How terrifying would a level 7 lower tier without any injuries be? Su Yu's eyes flickered, his fingers lightly flicking, but the Obscure did not notice. Attack! Su Yu took the initiative to attack. Purple Star Thunderbolt! Creak! Purple lightning arcs danced like raging flames. The destructive aura caused one's heart to palpitate. Xia Jingyu also dared to attack. Dewdrops! Whoosh! The water vapor in the air seemed to be summoned by the water god, condensing in the center of her jade-like palm. 10 drops of water, filled with pure vital energy, shot out. Whoosh! The speed of the water drops was extremely fast, piercing the air with a sharp, ear-piercing sound. The Obscure's mocking face stiffened, and his expression changed. Deity-level cultivation technique? Who are you? No sanctuary disciple has ever comprehended a deity-level cultivation technique. Unfortunately, it was too late. He suppressed his shock and withstood the attacks of 2 people at the same time. Shadowless kick. The Obscure growled. His left leg stood like a rooster, and his right leg kicked out continuously. The speed was so fast that it seemed to be invisible. Only a series of afterimages could be seen, and it was impossible to tell where the real leg was. Disregarding the traps, the Obscure's own strength was terrifying. Boom! Purple star thunderbolt, the thunder flame burned everything, incomparably powerful. 10 drops of water pierced through everything in the universe, its power terrifying. Ah, thud, thud, thud. The Obscure retreated again and again, his face filled with horror. His abdomen was pierced by the water drops, and there was a thumb-sized hole, blood gushing out. His right leg was burned by the thunder flame, and the soles of his feet were scorched. He was at a disadvantage in just one exchange of blows. If it was a one-on-one fight, even if the opponent had a deity-level cultivation technique, it would be difficult to resist the suppression of a level 7 cultivation base. But with the 2 of them joining forces, it was extremely troublesome. He had originally set a trap to hunt, but the prey was extraordinarily powerful, causing him to fall into the trap instead. Gritting his teeth, the Obscure suddenly shouted, "Big brother! Quickly attack!" Boom! Outside the entrance of the cave, a person suddenly appeared in an extremely well-hidden hiding place. His strength and cultivation base had also reached level 7 lower tier. His appearance and cultivation base were almost exactly the same as the Obscure. Swish! This Obscure easily stepped over the trap at the entrance of the cave, leaned over the dangerous wire, and stood behind Su Yu and Xia Jingyu with a sneer. In front of them was the Obscure, and behind them was another Obscure. Su Yu and Xia Jingyu were in a fatal crisis of being attacked from both sides. The defeated Obscure sneered, his eyes filled with hatred. "You didn't expect this, did you?" The real Obscure was not one person, but 2. "We hunt and never separate. From the moment you stepped into the cave, your fate was announced. You dare to hurt me? I want you to taste the pain of all the traps." The Obscure growled. "Big brother, attack together." 2 level 7 martial artists, no matter how much Su Yu and Xia Jingyu had cultivated a deity-level cultivation technique, they could not possibly be a match for them. Xia Jingyu's beautiful face turned pale, but she was fearless and determined. Swish! At that moment, Su Yu suddenly grabbed her lily-white hand. Xia Jingyu's palm trembled, and she subconsciously tried to break free, but Su Yu held on tightly. "Listen to me, we'll attack together later." Su Yu's eyes were clear as he stared at the injured Obscure in front of him. He turned a blind eye to the person attacking from behind. Xia Jingyu stopped struggling, her pretty face blushing. Feeling hopeless, she bit her red lips and held Su Yu's hand. "What a warm hand, why didn't I feel it before?" Xia Jingyu's heart was beating rapidly, her snow-white cheeks flushed. Su Yu also felt a creamy and cool sensation in his palm, soft and comfortable, making it difficult to let go. At that moment, the 2 Obscures attacked from the front and back. Su Yu and Xia Jingyu held hands together, ignoring the Obscure behind them as they fought back. Reverie of dewdrops. Icy hardcore. Creak, a strange scene appeared. The 10 water droplets shot out by Xia Jingyu were wrapped in a deep chill. The Obscure roared and used his shadowless leg to block. However, the Obscure only managed to block 1 blow before he screamed in pain. The shadowless leg stopped in midair. He saw that what he had blocked was supposed to be a water droplet, but it had turned into a chilling icicle. The sharp icicle pierced deeply into the soles of his feet that had been burned by the purple star thunderbolt. The terrible chill quickly spread through his blood vessels and body, causing his legs to stiffen and making it difficult for him to move. What was even more frightening, as soon as the shadowless legs stopped, the remaining 9 water droplets all turned into icicles, piercing into the obscurer's body. In an instant, more cold energy surged into his body, causing his entire body to stiffen. Thump! The obscurer's body lost its mobility and fell to the ground with a crash. His eyes were filled with fear, but he could not move. They had successfully subdued a strong level 7. However, the other obscure roared from behind, "You are looking for death!" Boom! When Su Yu and Xia Jingyu turned around, it was too late. The other shadowless man had already rushed to within 10 feet of them with lightning speed. The claw, which contained the power of a level 7 strike, slammed toward Xia Jingyu's head with the power to destroy everything. Xia Jingyu was smashed to pieces with this strike. At that moment, Xia Jingyu had no time to react. She could only cast a sad smile at Su Yu. Chapter 73. This battle was so fierce that they were separated by life and death on the first day. Xia Jingyu's heart was filled with regret, a regret that she had no time to express. Feeling the strong wind above her head, Xia Jingyu fixed her gaze on Su Yu's figure for the last time in her life. It was as if she wanted to engrave his figure in her heart at the end of her life. The strong wind finally came. Xia Jingyu was ready to bear the pain of death. However, the strong wind flew over her head, carrying a little warm liquid. The pain she imagined did not appear. In the end, death never came. When they looked up, they saw a headless corpse standing 10 feet away from them. Looking at the figure, who else could it be but the big brother's obscure? Behind her, the thing that flew over her head was the head that she had lost. His face was condensed with the anger before death, as well as slight doubt. Until death, he did not feel pain, only wondering why he was separated from his body. Looking closely, behind the headless body, there was a thin transparent silk thread wrapped around both sides of the stone wall, spanning the height of the neck. It was this silk thread that cut the obscure's neck. There were 2 reasons. First, the height of the neck was a blind spot for human vision and difficult to detect. Second, he came in anger and was too fast. The entwined dragon silk was sharp and could cut all things, and it was inevitable at high speed. In fact, as early as 5 miles away, Su Yu had observed the 2 obscurers setting up a trap. One pretended to be injured and entered the cave, while the other hid outside the cave, ready to attack from both sides. After careful calculation, Su Yu took advantage of the situation and took the risk to enter. After entering the cave, he immediately set up the entwined dragon silk at the entrance to achieve the effect of surprise and destruction. At this moment, everything was the same as planned. 2 strong level 7 lower-tier martial artists fell at his hands at the same time. Xia Jingyu could not bear to look at the bloody scene. Her eyes were full of anger, and she wanted to end the frozen obscure. "Wait, keep him alive. I have a use for him." Su Yu's eyes flashed as he searched the bodies of the 2 obscurers. An incomparably sturdy jade bottle was embedded in the flesh on their back. The jade bottle seemed to be connected to their hearts. If the slayer tried to remove the jade bottle himself, his heart would shatter and he would die. Su Yu secretly nodded. Exiling them to the evil forest was not without cost. Back then, he must have suffered extreme pain. At the same time, because of this, the sanctuary disciples did not have to worry that the murderer would hide the jade bottle or throw it away. It guaranteed that every Saint Realm disciple would be able to obtain the jade bottle when they killed the murderer. Shao Chun took out the jade hammer and used the power of a holy king to shatter the jade bottle, obtaining 2 fiery red medicinal pills. His eyes were big and filled with dense energy, like a sun emitting heat. Su Yu and Xia Jingyu each took a pill, and they swallowed it on the spot. Walala, the boiling heat seeped into his limbs and bones. His stagnant cultivation, under the push of the powerful force, experienced an explosive rise. Dong dong, in a short period of time, the two of them broke through to the sixth heaven at the same time, and their cultivation did not stagnate, continuing to rise. In the end, just as Qiu Changjian had expected, he had reached level 6 upper tier. Su Yu and Xia Jingyu looked at each other, their eyes filled with joy. The Saint-grade spirit elixir was indeed extraordinary. If he could obtain a few more, it wouldn't be difficult for him to break through to the supreme level. However, they had a deep understanding of the dangers involved. The murderers were cruel and murderous, extremely dangerous. The two obscurers had almost killed them. The obscurers, among the many murderers, were the weakest. If they had encountered a slightly more tyrannical person, they would have fallen. The two did not stop cultivating. Cultivation was only a part of strength. Taking advantage of the great battle just now, consolidating what they had learned was the most important aspect of strength. Xia Jingyu quickly reflected on the realization of the reverie of dewdrops for the first time, while Su Yu walked in front of the frozen obscurers. "What are you going to do?" The obscurer's face was filled with fear, and his body was gradually becoming flexible. Su Yu squatted down and looked him in the eye. His eyes instantly turned dark green, like emeralds in the dark night, both bright and gloomy. Swish, after the obscurers looked into the green eyes, his eyes suddenly became dull, his mind empty. Su Yu slowly closed his eyes and used the soul-searching technique to search the memories of the obscurers. A moment later, he opened his eyes, secretly delighted. The soul-searching technique was indeed marvelous. A large number of memories in the obscurer's mind were searched. Even from his memory, Su Yu learned that the shadowless fiends had collided with Du Lin's team half a day ago. Defeated, they fled here, setting traps to trap the sanctuary disciples in an attempt to seize the jade hammer and take the saint-grade spirit elixir for their own use to break through their cultivation base. Next, Su Yu tried the soul-controlling technique. In his eyes, the green light shone brightly, illuminating half of the dark cave. The obscurers screamed a few times, as if enduring endless pain. When everything was over, although the obscurers returned to normal, there was a lingering stupidity in his expression. Su Yu felt slightly regretful. The soul-controlling technique controlled the soul, overbearing and dangerous, inevitably hurting the soul of the controlled person, slightly affecting the performance of strength. "Greetings, Master." The obscurers kowtowed. The overbearing part of the soul-controlling technique was that, although it affected the strength of the other party, it could make the other party obey from the depths of the soul, unable to resist. Unless one day, the obscurer's strength broke through and surpassed the limits of a realm. Because the requirement of the soul-controlling technique was that it could only control strong people who did not exceed a realm. Su Yu nodded indifferently. "Go to the entrance of the cave and wait. No one is allowed to disturb." Swish! The obscurers immediately flashed into the cave entrance, vigilantly watching the surrounding movement. Su Yu immediately sat down, comprehending the experience of the previous battle. Icy Heart Core was used for the first time, in conjunction with Xia Jingyu's reverie of dewdrops. The effect was doubled. Su Yu was even pondering whether these two deity-level cultivation techniques belonged to the category of cultivation techniques that could be used together. After memorizing the Icy Heart Core, Su Yu took the opportunity to comprehend the other cultivation techniques he had. A day later, Su Yu slowly opened his eyes. The saint-level cultivation technique, Floating Light Shadow, had made the most progress. After a day of comprehension, he had reached stage 2 upper class. At this moment, his flying speed was faster and his body was as light as a feather. If he reached stage 3, he could wander in the void and fly in the air. Purple Star Thunderbolt was progressing slowly, still some distance away from upper class. At this moment, it seemed that Purple Star Thunderbolt was most likely a deity-level cultivation technique, and it was a higher-level deity-level cultivation technique. Otherwise, he would have comprehended the Saint Tier cultivation technique, floating light passing shadow, so quickly, but the purple star thunderbolt was even more difficult than the deity tier cultivation technique, icy heart core. As for the holy decree, Su Yu's comprehension had also improved. As his comprehension deepened, Su Yu increasingly felt that his simple imitation was the wrong path. The true holy decree should originate from himself and not be imitated by others. At this moment, Su Yu gradually broke away from imitation and began to search for his own holy decree. At this moment, a fragrance filled the air, greatly increasing one's appetite. Looking over, it turned out to be Xia Jingyu, who had long since woken up. She was squatting at the entrance of the cave, carefully cooking dinner. Looking at the focused and graceful figure, beautiful and charming, like a fairy from a painting, Su Yu sighed in his heart. Whoever could marry Xia Jingyu in this life would be blessed for the rest of their lives. She had the peerless beauty of a fairy from a painting, a graceful and delicate figure, a perfect heart with a gentle and strong heart. From inside to outside, she was a rare beauty. But thinking of Xia Jingyu marrying another man, he felt a slight tightness in his chest. With a bitter smile, Su Yu muttered, "I already have Xiener, and yet I am still so unsatisfied, thinking about other women?" Hearing movement, Xia Jingyu turned around and smiled. Her smile was like a bashful lotus flower, pure and delicate. "You're awake, let's eat." Su Yu did not dare to stare at that pure and beautiful face again. Without a trace, he sat opposite Xia Jingyu and ate. After eating, the three of them set off for the inner periphery. As for the trap at the entrance of the cave, Su Yu thought about it. Not only did he keep it, but he also added another one to the trap with the entwined dragon silk. Once the enemy fell into the trap, it was guaranteed that they would die. One day later, 20 miles into the forest, they had reached the border between the outer periphery and the inner periphery. Further ahead was the inner periphery. Most of the slayers lived in the inner periphery. Level 7 upper tier and peak slayers were everywhere, and there were even terrifying level 8 slayers. If they were not careful and encountered a level 8 slayer, they might not survive. Bang! Suddenly, a gust of wind blew. The wind carried the sound of fighting. Su Yu followed the direction of the wind and activated his crystalline pupils. His pupils shrank. 5 miles away, the sanctuary disciples are under attack. We need to rescue them immediately. Due to the distance, Su Yu could only roughly see the silhouettes, unable to distinguish their faces. A group of people quickly rushed over. A mile away, Su Yu's eyes turned cold. So it's Du Lin's team. Xia Jingyu did not like Du Lin. If she had known Du Lin was here, she would not have rushed over. At this moment, Du Lin, Zhang Mingyi, senior sister Lu and Feng Hao were in a difficult battle. They were besieged by 4 level 7 lower tier slayers, and were surrounded by danger. Du Lin, a level 7 upper tier, was entangled by 3 slayers. Zhang Mingyi was at level 6 peak, senior sister Lu was at level 6 upper tier, and Feng Hao was at level 6 upper tier. The 3 of them were struggling to resist the pressure of a level 7 lower tier. Du Lin was fine and had plenty of time to spare. But Zhang Mingyi and the other 2 were in extreme danger. Zhang Mingyi's mouth was full of blood, senior sister Lu's chest was slashed open, and Feng Hao had 3 of his fingers cut off and was dripping with blood. The 4 slayers were traitors of the Luori Empire. They had killed countless people on the battlefield and were later dismissed for raping women. The 4 of them harbored resentment and committed evil everywhere, slaughtering villagers and committing heinous crimes. The 4 of them fought for years and were familiar with each other. They cooperated skillfully and had never failed. "Su Yu, what should we do?" Xia Jingyu asked. Su Yu thought for a moment and said helplessly, "We can leave Du Lin in the lurch, but senior sister Lu has no enmity with us. Besides, there are 4 saint-grade spirit elixirs in front of us. How can we give up? With them holding them back, it will be easier for us to capture all 4 of them. Otherwise, it will be difficult for us to kill them one-on-one." Xia Jingyu nodded. They immediately attacked. Only the Obscurer was left. Su Yu ordered him to stay put with a thought. Reverie of Dewdrops. Purple Star Thunderbolt. After breaking through to level 6 upper tier, the absolute crushing advantage of a level 7 lower tier was greatly reduced. Su Yu's Purple Star Thunderbolt showed its full power. Creak, boom. A level 7 lower tier who besieged Du Lin was instantly struck in the back by Su Yu and died on the spot. Xia Jingyu's deity level cultivation technique was no weaker than Purple Star Thunderbolt. Chapter 74. The two had a tacit understanding and quickly collected the Saint-grade spirit elixir, then turned back to kill the slayers who were suppressing Zhang Mingyi and the other two. Du Lin was delighted to be rescued, but then he discovered that the Saint-grade spirit elixir had been intercepted, especially by Su Yu. He could not help but be furious. He wanted to stop Su Yu from killing the other slayer, but there was still one slayer who was besieging him, and it was difficult for him to get away. When he killed the slayer, Su Yu and Xia Jingyu had joined forces to quickly kill the last slayer and obtain the Saint-grade spirit elixir. In a short moment, Su Yu and Xia Jingyu had obtained 3 Saint-grade spirit elixirs, while Du Lin's team only obtained 1. Intuition told them that as long as Su Yu and Xia Jingyu swallowed 2 Saint-grade spirit elixirs at the same time, they could go one step further and successfully break through to level 6 peak. In other words, as long as they killed one more slayer, they could break through. Although the evil forest was risky, it was indeed a shortcut to cultivation. Xia Jingyu and Su Yu were overjoyed. Senior Sister Lu endured the pain, full of gratitude, and bowed, "Thank you, Junior Brother Su and Junior Sister Xia. If not for the two of them helping her in time, she was doomed to die today." Feng Hao's face was full of fear. Just a few days later, the two of them could already kill a level 7 lower tier? A great pressure made it difficult for Feng Hao to breathe. They were all newcomers to the heavenly sanctuary, but the gap between them was as wide as heaven and earth. Zhang Mingyi's face alternated between green and red. Before leaving, he sneered at Su Yu and Xia Jingyu, saying that without the protection of a strong fighter, they would not survive more than 3 days. But now, with the protection of a strong fighter like Du Lin, it would be difficult for them to survive even 2 days. On the other hand, Su Yu and Xia Jingyu did not have the protection of a strong fighter, but their strength had skyrocketed. Su Yu glanced at Zhang Mingyi and Feng Hao, simply cupped his fists at Senior Sister Lu, nodded, and left. "Stop right there!" A deep roar came from behind him. Su Yu and Xia Jingyu turned back and met Du Lin's gloomy and cold eyes. "Put down the spirit elixir!" Du Lin screamed. Having seen the strength of the two of them killing a level 7 lower tier, Du Lin restrained his killing intent. Although he had great confidence that he could kill the two of them, he was not sure that he would come out unscathed. If he was injured by the two of them, he would be in a very bad situation in the evil forest. Because of this, Du Lin only ordered them to put down the dawn instead of fighting them to the death. Su Yu replied indifferently, "Shouldn't you be grateful to us for saving your life first?" Hearing this, Du Lin's face turned red, but he was extremely rude and unreasonable. "I didn't ask you to help me. Why should I be grateful to you?" Su Yu shrugged his shoulders and said, "That's true. I didn't think about saving you, and I only helped you because of Senior Sister Lu. Otherwise, if you died, I would just be laughing and clapping my hands. You really don't have to thank me." "You." Du Lin was so angry that his face turned red. He growled, "I'll give you one last chance. Put down the pill, or die." Although Senior Sister Lu was weak and relied on Du Lin, her heart was filled with righteousness. "Senior Brother Du, Su Yu saved our lives. How can you do this?" Senior Sister Lu said seriously. "Shut up. Otherwise I'll kill you too." Du Lin's eyes were ice cold, causing Senior Sister Lu's heart to palpitate as she retreated in fear. Du Lin glared at Su Yu, gritting his teeth. "Fine. Looks like you don't intend to hand over the pill. Then let me see how much your abilities have soared. He had long wanted to kill Suyu. Now, under the stimulation of 3 saint-grade spirit pills, he finally decided to kill Suyu. Iron Horse Glacier. Du Lin growled, his whole body entering a wonderful state. Holy Decree. High-grade Holy Decree. Different from Suyu's Holy Decree, which was integrated into the painting, Du Lin's Holy Decree was to create a majestic aura. Suyu and Xiaojingyu seemed to see a magnificent army of thousands of horses and soldiers trampling over the winter glacier. Trampling over thousands of miles of mountains and rivers, shattering the world. In the midst of such an imposing aura, their hearts suddenly palpitated, and a deep sense of despair arose spontaneously. Their confidence had been lost. They had already lost 3 points before the battle had even begun. This was Du Lin's Holy Decree, intimidating and weakening the enemy's combat power. Swish, Suyu suppressed the fear in his heart and held Xiaojingyu's soft hand. Xiaojingyu's palm trembled. She blushed and wanted to withdraw her hand, but when she felt the warmth and strength from Suyu's big hand, her heart surprisingly gradually calmed down, her fear completely disappearing. It was as if with Suyu around, even if the wind and rain were to fall, she would be safe. At peace, Xiaojingyu's snow-white cheeks were rosy. She held Suyu's hand, her heart enjoying this peaceful and fulfilling moment. At the same time, Suyu was immersed in the Holy Decree. He immediately became a person in the painting, as if he had ascended to become a flying immortal, detached from the mortal world. Xiaojingyu, who was holding his hand, involuntarily entered the painting, holding hands with Suyu. In an instant, the two were like a celestial couple, hand in hand as they ascended a dangerous situation. Immersed in Suyu's brand new Holy Decree, Xiaojingyu closed her clear eyes slightly, her mind entering a state of emptiness. At this moment, she felt Suyu's Holy Decree with her inhuman level of comprehension. Just like that day under the pear blossoms under the moonlight, the same handshake, the same comfortable feeling of galloping. When her snow-white eyes slowly opened, a trace of profound understanding reverberated in her heart. Suyu was shocked. In an instant, Xiaojingyu had actually comprehended his Holy Decree. Swish, with no time to think, Suyu and Xiaojingyu attacked together. Boom! The two's Holy Decrees overlapped. The boundless painting shrouded in all directions, merging everything within a 1-mile radius into the painting. Suyu and Xiaojingyu looked at each other, their hearts linked, and they attacked at the same time. They held each other's hands, and together they struck forward. Rumble, it was clearly an ordinary palm strike, but it caused the entire painting to tremble, as if it was about to crack. Du Lin's Iron Horse Glacier aura was reduced to ashes in the blink of an eye. Wah! Du Lin spat out a mouthful of blood, stumbling back. His face was deathly pale, his internal organs violently shaken. He was seriously injured. His eyes were filled with deep shock. 2 level 6 upper tiers had joined forces to seriously injure him, even in his strongest state. Clutching his abdomen, Du Lin was inexplicably shocked. Their combined strength was terrifying. But what made Du Lin's eyes turn cold was that after Suyu and Xiaojingyu joined forces to display the majestic painting Holy Decree, they both entered a state of comprehension. That majestic blow just now had given Suyu's Holy Decree, which had stagnated for a long time, a new understanding. Ever since the Holy Meet, his understanding of the Holy Decree had deepened, and his foundation was incomparably deep. Now that there had been a change, the canal was flowing with water. What was even more amazing was that Suyu and Xiaojingyu's Holy Decree came from the same source. Now that the 2 Holy Decrees had fused and overlapped, Suyu and Xiaojingyu's comprehension had also fused, reaching the stage of mutual perception. Suyu had a deep foundation of comprehension, and Xiaojingyu's comprehension was superior, deepening and transforming Suyu's comprehension. Whoosh, a nameless whirlwind swirled around the two of them. Their comprehension of the holy decree had soared as they communicated and fused. Su Yu's eyes were confused. He slowly raised his finger and murmured, "So this is the holy decree." Deliberately merging with nature and entering the painting realm is ultimately flawed, and it is difficult to truly enter the painting. Only when the mind and body return to nature can every movement be in the painting realm, the realm of nature. Xiaojingyu shared Su Yu's comprehension and was delighted. With her extraordinary comprehension, she deepened and transformed it, making the comprehension more profound and clear. The two of them stood hand in hand, immersed in a wonderful comprehension. Du Lin's eyes were cold as he growled, "The three of you attack. Take the opportunity to kill them." Zhang Mingyi and Feng Hao hesitated for a moment. There was no hatred between them, and there was no need to kill them. But thinking of the saint-grade spirit elixirs they had, their hearts filled with greed. With a sharp glint in their eyes, Zhang Mingyi and Feng Hao charged forward. Whoosh! A beautiful figure blocked in front of them. It was the seriously injured senior sister Lu. With a look of disdain, senior sister Lu angrily rebuked, "Do you have a conscience? If not for them, the three of us would have died at the hands of the villains." "Get lost!" Zhang Mingyi could not help but be angry. Junior sister Lu had to block the way. Rumble. Zhang Mingyi immediately attacked senior sister Lu without hesitation. Feng Hao had a cold smile on his face. He bypassed the two of them and quietly attacked the meditating Su Yu and Xiaojingyu. His eyes lingered on Xiaojingyu's alluring body. Feng Hao's heart ached. His eyes were filled with coldness. "Junior sister Xia, don't blame me for being ruthless. If you want to blame someone, blame yourself for following the wrong person." Whoosh! A dagger appeared in his palm. His eyes were vicious and cruel as he stabbed toward the two's vital parts. "No." Senior sister Lu was furious. Zhang Mingyi sneered. Du Lin's eyes revealed a vengeful smile. However, at the most critical moment, whoosh! A sharp vital energy, dozens of meters long, pierced through. Ah! The grinning Feng Hao's face suddenly twisted as he screamed in pain. The vital energy pierced through his heart and caused his chest to explode. A figure hidden not far away suddenly shot out. The obscure man. Su Yu had long been on guard. He had arranged for the obscure man to hide in the dark and attack at the critical moment. A level 7 lower tier slayer? Du Lin was aghast. Zhang Mingyi's soul almost left his body because the Shadowless's gaze had turned and descended onto him. Ah! With a scream, Zhang Mingyi was scared out of his wits. His face turned red. He forced junior sister Lu back with a palm and frantically fled. The obscure man wanted to catch up, but he had to protect Su Yu and Xiaojingyu, so he could only stay nearby. The two of them comprehended for as long as half an hour. When they opened their eyes, a wonderful scene appeared. Su Yu and Xiaojingyu's cultivation levels had not changed, but their auras were completely different. They were still the same people, but there seemed to be an additional indescribable quality about them. Xiaojingyu was even more ethereal, more beautiful and moving than a fairy from a painting. Du Lin and the obscure man were stunned at the same time. They were deeply captivated by the current Xiaojingyu. After a moment, they looked away in shock. What is this? Just one look can make me fall for it? Du Lin was horrified. On the other hand, Su Yu's purple robe fluttered in the wind. His deep, starry eyes were captivating. His body also reverberated with an indescribable picturesque realm, like a young immortal in a painting. Senior sister Lu's beautiful eyes were fixed on Su Yu, immersed in the picturesque realm that surrounded Su Yu. At the same time, in senior sister Lu's eyes, Su Yu, who was already handsome, was the most handsome man she had ever seen in her life. He was more handsome than any other man. Her heart could not stop beating. Su Yu and Xiaojingyu looked at each other and smiled. On the path of the holy decree, they had made new progress. At this moment, the two of them did not deliberately display the holy decree, but their every movement revealed the holy decree, making them look like celestial beings at any time. The power of the holy decree was bound to skyrocket. Su Yu's gaze swept across and fell on Du Lin, overflowing with a cold light. He did not have the intention to kill, but Du Lin wanted to get rid of him. Du Lin could not be left alive. Chapter 75. Swish, Su Yu rushed over, his green eyes bright and dazzling, illuminating half of the forest. Ah, as Du Lin screamed, his soul was successfully controlled by Su Yu. His soul was damaged, and with his injuries, his strength was only slightly stronger than a level 7 lower tier, but much weaker than a level 7 upper tier. Su Yu obtained the spirit elixir on him, plus the previous 3, for a total of 4. Su Yu and Xia Jingyu divided them equally, 2 each, enough to break through to level 6 peak. Senior Sister Lu, further ahead is the inner periphery, dangerous and unpredictable. I hope you will return quickly. Su Yu cupped his hands. Senior Sister Lu gratefully bowed and sighed with a bitter smile. After this incident, I really do not intend to go deeper. Although the opportunities in the evil forest are strong, they are far beyond my reach. Junior Brother Su, Junior Sister Xia, thank you for saving my life. I will leave now. Swish, Senior Sister Lu flashed into the forest and left the evil forest. Su Yu and Xia Jingyu immediately led Du Lin and the Obscure away from this place to find a remote and secret place to swallow the elixir and break through to the next level. When Zhang Mingyi fled, he panicked and did not know where to go. By the time he realized he had accidentally broken into the inner periphery, it was already late. Damn Su Yu! Zhang Mingyi's face was full of bad luck and resentment. He looked around the dark forest, his heart anxious. At this moment, he noticed a faint fire in the canyon ahead. Zhang Mingyi was not happy but shocked. His eyes filled with fear as he retreated. The inner periphery was where the Slayers lived. If there was a fire, it meant there was human habitation. There was a 10% chance it was a heavenly sanctuary disciple, but a 90% chance it was a Slayer. Any heavenly sanctuary disciple with enough common sense would never light a fire at night, because a fire at night was enough to attract the attention of a Slayer 10 miles away. Therefore, those who lit a fire at night were most likely Slayers. Zhang Mingyi was at level 6 peak of the martial path, the lowest level of Slayers. Encountering one would result in death. However, Zhang Mingyi suddenly smelled a strange fragrance in the wind. With a light sniff, his whole body became numb, unable to move his body. Rustle, light footsteps came from the dark place behind him. A sinister laughter like metal rubbing against metal floated into his ear. Hee hee, you are very alert. Unfortunately, you were poisoned when you discovered the fire. A dark palm covered with pustules was placed on his shoulder and dragged him into a dark cave. There was a bright pearl in the cave, giving off a faint light. What made Zhang Mingyi gasp was that in the cave, there were actually 3 corpses that had turned into minced meat. The corpse was charred black, and the flesh was badly mutilated. The pungent smell made people want to vomit. The scattered clothes made Zhang Mingyi even more shocked. Sacred Region Disciple. Hee hee, not bad. You're the 4th Saint Region Disciple that I've caught. Zhang Mingyi got a good look at the other party's face with the help of the serene flame's light. That was no longer the appearance of a human. His facial features were rotten, and his cheeks were covered in pus. His eyes were blood red, and his skin was turned inside out. You are Slayer 9 Deadly Poison Devil. Zhang Mingyi's throat seemed to be choked by something, his face panic-stricken. The 9 Deadly Poison Devil was a notorious criminal of the Baiqing Empire. His strength had reached the peak of level 7, and he was only a step away from level 8. However, the thing that made people tremble with fear the most was his perfect poison technique. He had immersed himself in poison techniques all year round, causing his mind and temperament to resemble that of a wild beast. His methods were cruel, and he liked to use poison to torture those he liked to death. The 3 pieces of flesh in front of him were enough to bloody explain what kind of torture they had suffered before they died. The Empire had sent experts to hunt him down 9 times, but he had narrowly escaped, earning the name 9 Deadly Poison Devil. Since you already know my name, then you should know what I want to do next. The 9 Deadly Poison Devil grinned. Thump! Zhang Mingyi's knees went soft, and he fell to the ground. His whole body was trembling with fear, and he kept kowtowing. Lord Poison Devil, please let me go. Whatever you want me to do, I'll promise you. The 9 Deadly Poison Devil's grin didn't diminish, and he took out a bottle of black powder from his bosom. Zhang Mingyi's heart was about to burst. Suddenly, a spark flashed in his mind. Lord Poison Devil, I know where there are more heavenly sanctuary disciples, and they have 4 saint-grade spirit elixirs in their hands. Pa 4? The 9 Deadly Poison Devil's blood-red eyes flashed with a trace of blazing heat, and the medicine bottle in his hand was subconsciously crushed. Out of the corner of his eyes, Zhang Mingyi noticed that the jade bottle inlaid on the 9 Deadly Poison Devil's back had been opened and the elixirs inside had disappeared without a trace. He thought of the 3 dead heavenly sanctuary disciples. The answer was obvious. There were 2 reasons why the 9 Deadly Poison Devil hunted the disciples of the heavenly sanctuary. The first was to obtain the jade hammer, open the jade bottle behind him, and obtain the pill. Second, kill the disciples of the heavenly sanctuary and plunder their elixirs. Lead the way. The 9 Deadly Poison Devil licked his lip. The terrifying aura of the peak of the 7th level faintly leaked out. After a long while, at the place where Su Yu and Du Lin were fighting, the 9 Deadly Poison Devil's blood-red eyes scanned the surroundings as he sprinkled a handful of black poisonous powder from his hand. The poisonous powder was sensitive to blood energy. It formed a thin line on the ground, and its direction was surprisingly in the direction of Su Yu's secret training spot. Du Lin had injuries on his body and was bleeding. This was the reason why he was detected. In a place surrounded by a stone forest, Su Yu ordered Du Lin and the Obscurer to hide and guard in the dark, while he and Xia Jingyu began their breakthroughs. After swallowing 2 saint-grade spirit elixirs, pure and majestic energy poured into his body. Both of their cultivations broke through at a speed visible to the naked eye. Shuar, however, at this moment, the sound of hurried footsteps approached. Enemy attack! The Obscurer and Du Lin exclaimed at the same time. They appeared from their hiding place and blocked in front of Su Yu and Xia Jingyu. At this critical moment in their breakthrough, the enemy attacked. The 9 Deadly Poison Devil appeared, his eyes covered in pus. He slowly turned and fixed his gaze on Su Yu and Xia Jingyu, extremely angry. The elixirs were gone. Fine, while your elixirs are still in the blood, drinking your blood will have the same effect. The 9 Deadly Poison Devil licked his lips, cruel and inhuman. Shadowless kick. The Obscurer brazenly attacked. The impenetrable shadow of the leg brought forth a series of afterimages. The full power of a level 7 lower tier attack was astonishing. The corners of the 9 Deadly Poison Devil's mouth lifted in a faint sneer. His hands were hidden in his sleeves, unmoving. Boom! The Obscurer's leg swept the 9 Deadly Poison Devil's vital heart. However, Shadowless let out a tragic cry and was sent flying backward. His right leg decayed into black blood at a speed visible to the naked eye. The poison spread from his leg to his whole body. In the blink of an eye, the Obscurer's entire body turned black, his breath extinguished, and he perished on the spot. A moment later, his body turned into blood. The bloody and brutal scene caused one's hair to stand on end. Du Lin's expression was grave. He knew he could not touch the 9 Deadly Poison Devil. Iron Horse Glacier. With the holy decree pouring into his body, Du Lin was like a general of 10,000 troops. The momentum was majestic, trampling 10,000 miles of mountains and rivers. Poof! Not far behind, Zhang Mingyi's legs went soft. Under the crushing momentum of the mountains and rivers, he knelt to the ground and vomited blood. The 9 deadly poison devil's eyes were filled with ridicule. Insignificant skill. Whoosh, the 9 deadly poison devil flicked his finger. A wisp of black powder blended into his vital energy and shot out. War poof, Du Lin's chest was pierced in a flash. The thick poisonous powder caused his chest to rot into a large bloody hole, and he died on the spot. 2 level 7 fighters were killed with a flick of a finger. The 9 deadly poison devil's poison technique, coupled with his level 7 peak strength, was extremely terrifying. Without any hindrance, the 9 deadly poison devil's grinning eyes shot toward Su Yu and Xia Jingyu. Swish, closing in, 2 hands covered in pus grabbed at the two's heads. Boom! However, at this moment, Su Yu and Xia Jingyu had a breakthrough at this critical moment. The strong cyclone produced by the breakthrough hindered the 2 giant hands for a moment. Swish, the 2 slapped the ground and bounced back. Glancing at the poison Du Lin and the Obscurer, Su Yu had more or less deduced the battle just now. A level 7 peak, the strongest enemy they had encountered. There is poison on his body, do not touch him. Su Yu's pupils detected a thin layer of poisonous fog covering the surface of his body, difficult to distinguish with the naked eye. The Obscurer was careless and came into contact with the poisonous fog, turning into a pool of blood on the spot. Since they could not attack at close range, they could only attack from afar. The 2 cooperated tacitly and naturally stood hand in hand. Icy Heart Core. Reverie of Dewdrops. Swish, 10 water droplets containing chilling intent streaked across the sky and shot forward. The 9 deadly poison devil's grin stiffened, and for the first time, he revealed a dignified expression. After a moment, he coldly shook his head, his voice hoarse. You have some skill, unfortunately, too weak. Puff! The 9 deadly poison devil opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of highly toxic blood, wrapping the 10 water droplet. Swish, the 10 water droplets were actually evaporated by the highly toxic blood. Su Yu and Xia Jingyu's pupils shrank. Even the blood in their bodies contained such poison? A dignified expression appeared in the eyes of the 2. Looking at each other, the 2 nodded and attacked hand in hand. Swish, in a split second, the 2 jointly created a vast painting, completely enveloping a radius of 1 mile. Even the 9 deadly poison devil was reduced to a person in the painting. Su Yu and Xia Jingyu, hand in hand, struck together. It was an ordinary palm, but it contained an indescribable rhythm. The 9 deadly poison devil lightly sucked in a breath of cold air. Saint Grade Holy Decree. Holy decrees were divided into upper, middle, and lower grades. For the first time, Su Yu and Xia Jingyu knew that there was a saint grade above the upper grade. Rumble, swish, wah. The 9 deadly poison devil suffered a blow from the invisible rhythm. A huge blood groove appeared on his chest, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. Thud, 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 retreating a few steps, the 9 deadly poison devil's scarlet eyes condensed into a deep seriousness. He was injured by this blow, but not seriously injured. Had it been an ordinary murderer, they would have realized the 2 were troublesome and retreated in order to preserve their lives. However, the 9 deadly poison devil was cruel and his rationality was beyond human comprehension. Thoroughly enraged, the 9 deadly poison devil revealed an ominous glint. Swallow the sky and spit out the sun. Walala! The 9 deadly poison devil's body shook violently. The poisonous powder surrounding his body was shaken off his body and enveloped the surroundings. The leaves quickly withered and decayed. The grass quickly withered and died. The insects quickly twisted and died. Under the shroud of the black poisonous powder, all living things in the world returned to deathly stillness. Not good! Su Yu and Xia Jingyu were shocked at the same time. The 2 had a tacit understanding and attacked together. Icy hardcore! Reverie of dewdrops. Swish, the water vapor around them condensed into a thin layer of ice. The poisonous powder was absorbed by the ice, condensing into a black liquid that meandered along the ice wall. The translucent ice wall instantly turned pitch black. The terrifying poisonous powder was temporarily blocked, but as the poisonous fog increased, the ice wall could not withstand it. Crack! The ice wall could not withstand such a strong poison, and several cracks appeared. The situation was critical. Su Yu's expression was grave. The 9 deadly poison devil was an unprecedentedly powerful enemy. After a moment, Su Yu clenched his teeth and said, "Jing Yu, I need to take a risk. If anything happens, it's up to you." Chapter 76. The 9 deadly poison devil's words gave Su Yu some understanding of his own holy decree. If he and Xia Jingyu worked together, they would be able to unleash the might of a saint-grade holy decree. In that case, if he were to act alone, his holy decree should only be at the half-holy grade. At this moment, the old holy decree was undergoing a transformation, and the new holy decree had yet to take form, so it was only at the half-holy grade. Give it a try. Su Yu already had an idea of the holy decree in his mind. And now, in the hands of an expert, a brand new holy decree was being refined. Su Yu's every movement was natural. From the inside to the outside, everything was simple and natural. There was no deliberate effort or carving. Everything seemed natural and smooth. Su Yu's mind was fused with everything he had learned, trying to comprehend the essence of the holy decree. I am nature, and nature is me. Force of nature, heed my command. Shuar flying past the wall of ice, Su Yu's body was like a flickering light and passing shadow, as light as a swan feather, drifting in the void. His eyes flickered with deep comprehension. Ice, thunder, flourish, banquet. Su Yu gave a low grunt. The realm of nature, with him as the center, enveloped the surroundings. In an instant, Su Yu seemed to have become the supreme ruler of the realm of nature. As he roared, a strange phenomenon appeared. Chila sizzle, between Su Yu's index finger, a sparkling and translucent white ice and a purple, ghostly, burning thunder flame appeared. The two fused into one. The fusion of ice and lightning, the gathering of the power of nature. A feast of ice and thunder. Ice and thunder feast. Following Su Yu's command, the ice-thunder flame fused into a beam of alternating purple and white light. It crossed the sky and violently shot toward the 9 deadly poison devil's chest. The 9 deadly poison devil's complexion changed abruptly and he hastily tried to resist. However, this finger contained the power of nature and was unstoppable. Puff, a huge bloody hole had been created in his chest by the ice and thunder flames. The boundless force of nature sent him flying dozens of meters away, crashing heavily into a giant tree. The 9 deadly poison devil opened his mouth and violently spat out a mouthful of blood. In a flash, he was seriously injured. His face was full of fear. Half-divine grade holy decree. No, it's a saint-grade holy decree. It's still a distance away from demigod grade. Schwa, at this moment, a transparent thread shot over and wrapped around his neck. The 9 deadly poison devil's seriously injured body resisted with difficulty. Move and you'll die. The black jade ring in Su Yu's hand gently tugged, and the entwined dragon silk around the 9 deadly poison devil's neck was shackled. A trace of blood flowed down from the 9 deadly poison devil's neck. The 9 deadly poison devil was aghast. He stopped struggling and didn't dare to move. Su Yu secretly nodded. The material of the entwined dragon silk was amazing. The 9 deadly poison devil's blood was highly toxic, but it could do nothing to the entwined dragon silk and did not corrode it. He was waiting for Su Yu to step forward to control the 9 deadly poison devil. Suddenly, Su Yu felt a sharp pain in his heart. Putong! Su Yu's knees went soft, and he fell to the ground. He clutched his chest, feeling extremely uncomfortable. Visible to the naked eye, shreds of black poison flowed from Su Yu's internal energy channels to his heart. During the battle just now, Suyu had inhaled too much of the poisonous fog. At that moment, the poisonous fog in the sky had already dissipated, but Suyu was already deeply poisoned. Xia Jingyu's beautiful face paled. She shattered the ice wall and dashed over. Xia Jingyu blinked her beautiful eyes and placed her hand on Suyu's chest. Dewdrop's seal. Walala, Suyu's blood seeped out of his pores and revolved around Xia Jingyu's lily-white hands. The blood was dark and contained a strong poison. Xia Jingyu operated the dewdrop's seal to the extreme. The poisonous fog in the blood was absorbed by the water vapor in the air, turning into poison and dripping to the ground. After the poisonous fog was cleared, the clear blood returned to Suyu's body through his pores. The 9 deadly poison devil was surprised. A water attribute deity level cultivation technique actually contains such a secret healing technique? Xia Jingyu exerted all her strength to operate the deity level cultivation technique. Her whole body was drenched in fragrant sweat and her breathing was weak. Xia Jingyu's vision darkened and she fainted several times. But from beginning to end, she did not stop. Once she stopped, the poisonous blood would attack her heart and it would be difficult to save her. It wasn't until Xia Jingyu's physical strength was exhausted and her whole body went limp that Suyu's blood finally became incomparably clear, without a trace of the poisonous fog. But not only did Suyu not wake up, but ice gradually appeared in his chest, slowly freezing his body. His vitality gradually weakened as his body became colder. What's going on? Xia Jingyu's beautiful eyes were filled with panic as she glared at the 9 deadly poison devil. What poison did you give him? The entwined dragon silk on the 9 deadly poison devil's neck was tightly bound. If Xia Jingyu had grabbed the black jade ring and pulled, his head would have fallen to the ground. It has nothing to do with my poison. The 9 deadly poison devil shook his head. It should have something to do with his deity-level cultivation technique. Just now, he successfully comprehended the saint-grade holy decree, prompting the deity-level cultivation technique to show signs of a breakthrough. However, the cultivation of deity-level cultivation techniques has always been dangerous. During a breakthrough, one needs to be watched over by an elder, or else his life will be in danger. He should be at this stage. Xia Jingyu's beautiful face paled. Deity-level cultivation technique breakthrough? How can I save him? Quickly say it. Xia Jingyu's tone was hurried and slightly sharp, her heart in a state of panic. She dared not imagine what would happen if Suyu were to perish. How could she find peace in her heart? The 9 deadly poison devil's rich cultivation experience far exceeded that of Xia Jingyu, a junior with shallow cultivation. He stared at Suyu for a long time, then said in deep thought, "To save him, I need to prevent his body from becoming cold. This is the only way." Xia Jingyu seemed to have grasped at a life-saving straw and hurriedly searched for firewood in the dense forest. In the blink of an eye, she was covered in mud, cut a sorry figure, her clothes torn and blood-stained. But Xia Jingyu was oblivious. Her bright eyes were misty, her heart only concerned about Suyu's life and death. The bonfire burned. The ice on the surface of Suyu's body slowly melted at a speed visible to the naked eye. His body temperature gradually returned to normal. Cold. Suyu's lips were cold as he subconsciously murmured. In front of him, facing the fire, the ice had melted. But behind him, facing the fire, there was a blind spot on his back where the ice still existed. Xia Jingyu bit her red lips, squatted down, and took Suyu into her arms. His cold back was embraced by her warm and soft chest. "Hiss!" Xia Jingyu lightly gasped. The bone-chilling cold was like ice piercing into her body. But she clenched her teeth and silently endured it. Her weak lips held a satisfied and gratified smile. "Your chest has warmed me many times. This time, let me warm you." The next morning, the faint sunlight penetrated the dense forest. Suyu's whole body was comfortably warm, as if he was in a winter blanket. Beneath his head, there was a warm and fragrant scent. Leaning against it was indescribably comfortable. He subconsciously rubbed against it, burying his face in it and taking a deep breath of the intoxicating fragrance. Suddenly, a soft moan sounded in his ears. Then, the warmth that his head was leaning against trembled slightly. Suyu opened his eyes in a daze. What he saw was a full and smooth chest. Her emerald-green clothes could not hide the smooth and firm chest. Her collar was a dazzling snow-white. Between the white, a deep ravine could be faintly seen. Rumble, Suyu's mind buzzed. He jumped up and looked down to take a closer look. Xia Jingyu was kneeling on the ground, her head lowered. Her red lips were slightly pursed, her snow-white cheeks flushed. Her clear eyes were filled with boundless shyness. In front of her chest was a pair of perky breasts. Her clothes were messy. Suyu faintly remembered what had happened the day before. He instantly understood the state of the two of them. "I'm sorry." Recalling his impudence just now, Suyu deeply breathed in the fragrance of her breasts. His face turned slightly red. "No, nothing." Xia Jingyu glanced away, not daring to look at Suyu. Suyu was grateful. Xia Jingyu had saved his life again. At this point, Suyu did not know how to repay her. The two were silent for a moment. Suyu averted his gaze to avoid embarrassment. His gaze fell on the 9 deadly poison devil, his eyes suddenly cold. He stepped forward and immediately used the soul control technique to control the subdued 9 deadly poison devil. To his regret, the jade bottle of elixirs on the 9 deadly poison devil's back had already been swallowed by him. Suyu secretly cursed his bad luck. After subduing such a powerful opponent, there was no gain. The only gain was probably the improvement of his own strength. The holy decree was completely new. It was no longer the heavenly finger of the old man in the mural. Instead, it was Suyu's own creation, the ice feast. Even more delightful was the sublimation of the holy decree, causing 2 types of deity-level cultivation techniques to have a breakthrough. First was the icy heart core, which had unexpectedly broken through to the upper class. Although it had almost taken Suyu's life, there was no doubt that the gains were great. Next was the purple star thunderbolt. Although it had not broken through to the upper class, it had reached the peak of the lower class. The thunder flame was more violent and its power had skyrocketed. In a sense, the purple star thunderbolt was more difficult to comprehend than the icy heart core. Such a big breakthrough was rare and commendable. Of course, another gain was the 9 deadly poison devil, this terrifying expert, as a puppet. He could kill without form, far beyond the scope of ordinary level 7 peak. Although he was seriously injured at the moment and his combat power was halved, his poison techniques were not damaged in the slightest. The only pity was that he did not obtain a saint-grade spirit elixir. But on second thought, Suyu was relieved. Next, if he and Xia Jingyu wanted to break through to level 7, each of them would need at least 3 saint-grade spirit elixirs, a total of 6, which were extremely difficult to find. The 9 deadly poison devil only had 1, which was of no help. Touching his chin, Suyu thought for a moment and used the soul-searching technique on the 9 deadly poison devil. He stayed in the evil forest all year round and knew a lot about the location of the slayers. However, when Suyu searched his soul, he unexpectedly discovered another piece of information. The Falcon Gathering? Suyu was surprised. It turned out that the massacre of the sanctuary disciples in the evil forest had alarmed the slayers in the inner circle. Among them, there was a group preparing to form the Falcon Gathering to kill the disciples who entered the sanctuary, seize the jade hammers, and obtain the elixirs sealed on their backs. The 9 deadly poison devil was also invited, but he did not participate and acted alone. The Falcon Gathering originally only invited 6 people, all level 7 peak slayers. Now that the 9 deadly poison devil had refused, there were 5 people left. In other words, they could get 5 saint-grade spirit elixirs in one go. With the 9 deadly poison devil's poison technique, and Suyu's greatly increased strength, at least 2 people could stay. The best part was that the Falcon squad would gather tonight, and the location would be in a valley not far away. Su Yu and Xia Jingyu's eyes suddenly brightened as they discussed. Xia Jingyu's pretty face was still flushed and her messy clothes had long since been combed neatly. Hearing the serious matter, Xia Jingyu restrained her expression, her eyes filled with worry. A total of 5 level 7 peak, it will be difficult for us to deal with them. With the strength of the 3 of them, dealing with 3 level 7 peak at the same time was the limit. 2 more was enough to determine victory or defeat. They were taking a huge risk. However, riches were sought in danger. In just a few days, they had broken through from level 5 upper tier to their present level 6 peak, all because of the risk. The greater the opportunity, the greater the risk. If they could not obtain the qualifications to become a holy disciple in the storm competition, it would be no different from death. So it was better to take the risk. Lightly tapping his chin, Su Yu and Xia Jingyu discussed for a moment. Nightfall. The 3 quietly sneaked into a small valley. There was only one entrance and exit to the valley. One man held the pass against 10,000, easy to defend and difficult to attack. Chapter 77. At this time, 4 slayers were in the valley, talking around the bonfire. The 5th slayer was guarding the narrow passage, acting as a sentry and fending off the enemy. The 4 slayers were talking to each other. From the information obtained, the large number of disciples from the heavenly sanctuary entering is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Yes, we can seize their jade hammers and inlay the elixirs on our back. We can use them to break through our cultivation bases. Haha, how can this be the only benefit? Have you not thought that after we have the jade hammers, we can rob and kill other slayers and learn from the holy disciples to plunder elixirs and increase our cultivation bases? The eyes of the 4 slayers were blazing. There was no psychological barrier for the slayers to fight back. The only pity is that the 9 deadly poison devil did not come. With his poison techniques, poisoning a group of slayers is as easy as flipping his palm. Everyone nodded, secretly regretting. However, at this moment, a chuckle came from the entrance of the valley. So you guys are so concerned about the 9 deadly poison devil. Just in time, I'll deliver him to you. Su Yu stood with his hands behind his back, stepping into the valley. The 4 slayers' expressions suddenly changed. 2 young boys and girls walked side by side, followed by a middle-aged man with a face full of poison. Who else could it be but the 9 deadly poison devil? Looking at the assassin guarding the passageway, he had already been poisoned and reduced to a puddle of blood without anyone noticing. Everyone be careful. The 9 deadly poison devil is being controlled. One of the slayers, noticing the 9 deadly poison devil's slightly dull eyes, was shocked and loudly warned. The 9 deadly poison devil was being controlled? What kind of strange technique could manipulate such a strong person? They had gathered here for safety reasons. Unexpectedly, they were trapped and killed by strong people, becoming turtles in a jar. The only passage was occupied by Su Yu and the others. The 4 slayers were all cunning by nature. Capture the ringleader first. 2 of you entangle the 9 deadly poison devil, the other 2 quickly kill these 2 kids. The 4 slayers exchanged glances and tacitly cooperated with the division of labor. Kill, swish, swish, swish. A total of 4 terrifying level 7 peak auras came crashing down. Fortunately, the 9 deadly poison devil was infamous. Among the slayers, he was an extremely fearful existence, diverting half of the enemy. There were only 2 level 7 peak slayers left, each of them trying to kill Su Yu and Xia Jingyu. Reverie of dewdrops. Xia Jingyu was not afraid at all. She fought with ease. Although he was surrounded by danger, he wasn't at a disadvantage. His strength was not much different from the peak of the 7th heaven. The other slayer revealed an ominous glint as he charged toward Su Yu. Kid, I wonder how strong you are compared to your female companion. The slayer sneered, but he was extremely vigilant. Su Yu's purple robe fluttered in the wind, and his black hair fluttered in the wind. His deep eyes were filled with confidence as he said, "Almost. Then you can go to hell." Hearing Su Yu's mocking words, the Slayer attacked cautiously. Fiery fist. Both fists bombarded the air, bringing about bursts of sparks, as if the air itself was burning. Su Yu's eyes flickered as he brazenly retaliated. Icy Heart Core. Su Yu attacked with both fists. His fists looked ordinary, without any genuine energy or technique. It was as if a mortal's punch had no power at all. Boom. Pa! However, when the four fists collided, crack, the level 7 peak Slayer froze on the spot in an instant. His body was covered with a thick layer of ice, unable to move. His entire body had frozen into a crystal-clear ice sculpture. The aura of the Ice Slayer was completely extinguished. The Slayer fighting against Xia Jingyu sucked in a breath of cold air. With just one punch, the enemy was frozen into an ice sculpture. What kind of terrifying technique was this? With a cold glint in his eyes, Su Yu quickly took the elixir, then turned into a purple phantom, and floated to Xia Jingyu's side to join forces with her to resist the enemy. Crack! Carelessly, this Slayer was also turned into an ice sculpture. The two Slayers entangled with the 9 deadly poison devil were aghast. "You and I will split up and run." Su Yu's fierceness had caused them to lose the confidence to fight. After repelling the 9 deadly poison devil, they split up and fled toward the valley's passageway. In this way, the 9 deadly poison devil could only pin down one Slayer. Who could escape depended on luck. The one on the left was unlucky and was intercepted by the 9 deadly poison devil. With only one Slayer, the pressure on him was reduced, and he was instantly poisoned to death. The other fled toward the passageway. Su Yu's eyes flashed as he gave chase. Xia Jingyu collected the Poison Slayer's elixir. This trip was unusually smooth. The key was the 9 deadly poison devil's silent poisoning of the sentries, but the more crucial factor was Su Yu's terrifying strength. Xia Jingyu's beautiful eyes were a little worried. Her strength was a slight hindrance to Su Yu. On the other side, Su Yu used his full speed to hunt down the remaining Slayers. In this way, he would be able to collect 5 spirit elixirs. With another spirit elixir, he and Xia Jingyu would be able to successfully break through to level 7. Swish, however, just as Su Yu was about to catch up with the Slayer, a red figure suddenly burst in from outside the valley. Creak! Separated by dozens of feet, the red figure flicked his finger. A terrifying vital energy that sent chills down Su Yu's spine blew up the Slayer's body. What level of vital energy could have such an overbearing destructive power? Su Yu used his pupils to look. It was a stout man with a face full of scars, the corners of his mouth curling into a sinister smile. His strength made one's hair stand on end. Level 8 lower tier. Su Yu lightly gasped. It was a strong level 8. Without the slightest hesitation, Su Yu did not covet the elixirs on the Slayer's body. He turned and fled back into the valley. Oh, quite alert. The level 8 Slayer withdrew a wisp of vital energy from the finger hidden behind his back. If Su Yu had hesitated for even a moment, he would have ended up like the Slayer, minced meat. But isn't the valley like a turtle in a jar? Boy, you can't escape. The level 8 strong man bent over and tore the jade bottle from the Slayer's back. He had yet to obtain the jade hammer, so Su Yu and Xia Jingyu were his targets. Xia Jingyu put away the elixirs and accidentally caught a glimpse of Su Yu rushing back with a solemn expression. Her expression froze. Su Yu, what happened? Su Yu's heart was anxious and uneasy. If the information was correct, the red-clothed man was the extremely savage, 1,000-mile butcher. It was rumored that after he advanced to level 8 lower tier, he killed people 1,000 miles away with a giant knife. Blood flowed, and the 1,000-mile road was littered with corpses. Of the 4 level 8 strong men from the Empire who had chased him, 3 had died at his hands. One of them had both his wrists broken, but luckily escaped. The heavenly sanctuary had used several prospective holy disciples to successfully capture him. Such a savage and terrifying person had actually encountered him at this moment. Not to mention Su Yu alone, even if he joined forces with Xia Jingyu and the 9 deadly poison devil, it would still be difficult for them to withstand even half a move from him. What made Su Yu's heart even more serious was that within the valley was a dead end. Seeing Xia Jingyu approach, Su Yu's eyes were filled with urgency. Looking around, Su Yu's mind worked quickly. He could only take the risk. Swish, without wasting a second to explain, Su Yu flew forward and grabbed Xia Jingyu's slender waist. Xia Jingyu was shocked, her face flushed red. "Hold on tight," Su Yu growled. The entwined dragon silk in his fingers suddenly shot out. It was 100 meters long, transparent as if it was nothing, and shot toward the top of the valley. Creak! The other end of the entwined dragon silk shot toward a tree as thick as a person at the top of the valley, wrapping itself around the thick branches. With a light tap of his toes, Su Yu pushed floating light shadow to the extreme. He stepped on the precipitous cliff, as if he was walking on eaves and walls, and climbed toward the top of the valley. Su Yu's body was as light as a feather, and Xia Jingyu's lithe figure in his arms did not affect Su Yu's movement technique much. Xia Jingyu's heart was in her throat. She subconsciously hugged Su Yu tightly, burying her head deeply. She only dared to show one eye, looking at the ground dozens of meters above the ground. Her heart suddenly thumped. However, what made Xia Jingyu's heart shrink even more was, a red-robed man's figure rushed into the valley. The 9 deadly poison devil fearlessly pounced forward, his poison techniques exerted to the extreme. However, even the powerful 9 deadly poison devil was instantly blasted into minced meat by the red-robed man's finger, dying on the spot with a blood-curdling scream. The 1,000-mile butcher. Xia Jingyu's beautiful face paled. She recognized the red-robed man's identity. He was an extremely dangerous slayer. The 1,000-mile butcher looked around, surprise flashing in his eyes. Su Yu's figure was nowhere to be seen. Then, he looked up and was surprised to find Su Yu carrying Xia Jingyu as he leaped onto eaves and vaulted over walls. They were about to climb 100 meters above the valley, escaping from the valley's imprisonment. What a powerful movement technique! What a tough silk thread! The 1,000-mile butcher was surprised. Immediately, his eyes were replaced by a cruel light. He raised his finger with a grin, and a terrifying vital energy shot out. "If I let you escape, wouldn't I be the laughing stock?" Rumble. Feeling the terrifying vital energy, Su Yu's heart was alarmed, and a chill ran down his spine. At the critical moment, Su Yu's toes suddenly exerted force. Su Yu and Xia Jingyu, under the guidance of the entwined dragon silk, floated in a semicircle in midair. Rumble, in the instant that they drifted away, a huge hole a meter in diameter was blasted open in the place where they had been standing. The hard stone wall cracked into countless pieces. Several large rocks tumbled down, smashing into the ground 100 meters below. The sound of the crash was like the collapse of the heavens. If they had been hit just now, even if they did not die, they would have fallen 100 meters and become minced meat. Taking advantage of the shaking, Su Yu and Xia Jingyu floated to the peak of the valley. Su Yu pulled the entwined dragon's silk, using its strength to pull them from the air back onto the giant rocks in the valley. "Let's go." Su Yu's scalp was numb. Escaping out of the valley did not mean everything was over. The terror of level 8 was beyond Su Yu's imagination. Floating light shadow. Su Yu carried Xia Jingyu and leaped through the forest. With a light tap, he could cross a distance of 10 meters. The two of them left a trail in the air, trying to escape? Humph! The 1,000-mile butcher's eyes were ferocious. His speed was faster than Su Yu's, and he flashed out of the valley to chase after Su Yu. Half a day later, Su Yu and Xia Jingyu had escaped to the outer region. Su Yu looked back and activated his pupils. He was slightly surprised. 3 miles away, still chasing, It seemed that the 1,000-mile butcher was very good at tracking. After chasing for dozens of miles, he had not lost Su Yu and Xiaojingyu. Su Yu and Xiaojingyu were nervous and anxious. Once caught, the two of them would have no chance of survival. As for asking for help, among the 10 great prospective holy disciples, other than the top 3 who had the strength of level 8, who could fight against the 1,000-mile butcher, they had no help to ask for. Moreover, the distance between them was rapidly closing. Su Yu clenched his teeth. There's only one way to try. Facing an unprecedented enemy, Su Yu could only fight with all his might. Chapter 78. The shadow under his feet was like a shuttle, and a purple afterimage cut through the forest. Half a day later, Su Yu and the others looked at the 1,000-mile butcher from a distance of less than 100 meters. Within 100 meters was the 1,000-mile butcher's killing range. Boy, and that little girl, you should be proud that I chased you for a day and a night. The 1,000-mile butcher grinned, his tone filled with anger. A level 8 lower tier chased 2 level 6 peak juniors for a whole day. It would be unimaginable if the news got out. The purple-robed boy's speed was top-notch, only slightly slower than him. A day of chasing made the 1,000-mile butcher's killing intent even stronger. Fortunately, the 1,000-mile butcher could clearly feel Su Yu's physical exhaustion and his speed gradually declining. 400 meters. 300 meters. 200 meters. Finally, 100 meters. The 1,000-mile butcher sneered. Vital energy gathered between his fingers was enough to penetrate an enemy 100 meters away. Die! The 1,000-mile butcher brazenly attacked. 100 meters of vital energy suddenly shot towards Su Yu's back. However, at that moment, whoosh, a crooked cave appeared in front of them. The purple-robed boy carried the girl and stepped into the cave in a flash. Boom! The 1,000-mile butcher's vital energy forcefully deviated from its path at the critical moment and shot toward the century-old tree next to it. The tree, which was as thick as 3 people, suddenly shattered. A hint of annoyance appeared in his fierce eyes. Damn boy! The cave was crooked. Once the vital energy collapsed the cave, Su Yu and the girl would indeed die, but they would be buried in the ruins. It would be a waste of time and effort to dig them out. What if the jade hammer was destroyed in the collapse? Therefore, he could not attack the cave. Humph! You're courting death. The 1,000-mile butcher coldly glanced at Su Yu. His face was pale and panting as he stumbled into the cave. He was already an arrow at the end of its flight. However, the 1,000-mile butcher was not careless. His intuition told him that Su Yu might have something to rely on in the cave. He carefully came to the cave and squatted down. The 1,000-mile butcher stared carefully and his pupils suddenly shrank. At the entrance of the cave, at neck height, there were several extremely fine entwined dragon silk. After Su Yu had entered the cave, he had quietly set it up. Just now, if he had rushed in quickly, with the toughness and sharpness of the entwined dragon silk, it was inevitable that he would have been decapitated. The 1,000-mile butcher was shocked, but he laughed angrily and strode into the cave. I've been chased by so many strong people. How could such a small trick fool me? Before he could finish his words, the butcher of 1,000 miles suddenly lost his footing. A thought flashed through his mind. Could this be a series of traps? The 1,000-mile butcher was, after all, not an ordinary person. His reaction speed was extremely fast. At the critical moment, he grabbed the edge of the trap with one hand and barely avoided falling. He looked down and saw that the bottom of the trap was densely covered with sharp thorns that were half a meter long. If he really fell down, he would be pierced through by 10,000 needles and die. The 1,000-mile butcher gasped. That was close. Then, his eyes were filled with murderous intent. Having almost died twice in the hands of a 6th heavenly layer kid, the 1,000-mile butcher's ferocious aura was fully revealed. Kid! I want you to die a horrible death. The 1,000-mile butcher's voice stopped abruptly. Just as he was about to climb up, he suddenly realized that his other arm was not listening to him. It was empty, as if there was nothing in it. At the same time, something was continuously falling from his body. He subconsciously looked down and saw that his body below his chest had been sliced into pieces and was falling to the ground with a clatter. Looking closely, at the level of his chest, there was a layer of dense, transparent silk threads, like a spider web, lying flat in the trap. Anything that fell in would be cut into pieces by the sharp spider web. Although the 1,000-mile butcher did not fall to the bottom, he had already fallen into the sharp web made of the entwined dragon silk. He had long been cut into pieces, but because it was too sharp, he had only just begun to disintegrate. Boom! The 1,000-mile butcher's eyes turned white. With only half of his chest left, he fell to the bottom of the trap with a strong sense of unwillingness, dead. Among all the enemies, the one who had died the most tragic death was undoubtedly the 1,000-mile butcher who had been dismembered. Not long after, Suyu dragged his exhausted body out and stood at the edge of the trap, a look of relief on his face. This trap and cave were set up by the shadowless fiends when they were trying to capture them. Before he left, Suyu felt that the trap was very effective and had added an additional layer of entwined dragon silk. Now it had finally come in handy. Although this trip was dangerous, it was hard to imagine that a level 8 lower tier could be killed. They took the elixirs from the 1,000-mile butcher's back, as well as the elixirs he had plundered in the valley, rearranged the trap, and returned to the cave. With the 4 elixirs they had and the 2 from the 1,000-mile butcher, there were 6. 3 for Suyu and 3 for Xiaojingyu. The 2 swallowed the elixirs on the spot with anticipation and nervousness. This time, they were going to break through to level 7. The master of the Martial Arts Training Institute, Xiaojingyu's father, had only reached level 7 lower tier when he was 40 years old. They had entered the sanctuary in just a few days and had the possibility of surpassing their father's generation. How could they not be excited and excited? What Suyu envied the most was that level 7 and above fighters could release vital energy from their bodies. Suyu envied her for a long time, as she could injure someone from a dozen meters away. He swallowed the elixir and closed his eyes to break through. The powerful elixir fused into Suyu's limbs and bones, nourishing every inch of his flesh. An hour later, buzz, buzz, buzz. The air vibrated slightly and boundless waves of energy appeared around him and Xiaojingyu at the same time. The two of them opened their eyes at the same time. Wisps of powerful vital energy seeped out from their pores. Swish! Suyu pointed his finger and a wisp of majestic vital energy condensed into a thin line and shot out 10 meters away. Boom! The stone wall trembled and cracks covered it. A destructive gap suddenly appeared. Suyu was overjoyed. Xiaojingyu's beautiful eyes were rippling with excitement. If her father could see her current achievements, how happy would he be? After the breakthrough, the two of them calmed their hearts to comprehend their cultivation technique. Suyu had tried out the power of Icy Heart Core Upper Tier, and was very familiar with it. He could turn an enemy into an ice sculpture with one palm. It was indeed a divine-grade cultivation technique. The one with the greatest improvement was Floating Light Shadow. After days of fleeing and using it in various ways, he had silently broken through to Stage 2 peak. At that moment, he was as light as a swan feather when he used his lightness technique. He could fly 20 meters with one step. If he could break through to Stage 3, he could soar through the air. Every time he thought about it, Suyu was filled with anticipation. It was rumored that the likes of immortals could soar through the air. It would not be long before he could control it. Of course, this trip was not without losses. The 9 deadly poison devil, a powerful assistant, was killed by the 1,000-mile butcher's vital energy. His cold corpse lay in the valley. Touching his chin, Suyu muttered to himself. A day later, he and Xiaojingyu returned to the valley. Surveying the surroundings, Suyu spent 2 whole days setting up the valley. "Brother Yu, who are you setting up this trap to deal with?" Xiaojingyu squatted to the side, her snow-white arms propping up her chin. She was quiet and indifferent, watching Su Yu's arrangements with great interest. Su Yu shook his head. Preparing for a rainy day, in case we encounter an unexpected enemy. Xia Jingyu smiled beautifully. She stared at Su Yu's focused back, her heart full and sweet. It was as if there was endless peace by Su Yu's side. 2 days later, Su Yu was in a sorry state, exhausted. He had set up all the places in the valley that could be set up. There were mechanisms everywhere, and there were invisible killing traps everywhere. If a strong enemy entered this place, Su Yu could rely on the mechanisms to fight back. After setting up everything, Su Yu and Xia Jingyu left the valley. Standing at the exit of the valley, Su Yu gazed into the depths of the inner periphery. Now it was time to head deeper. There were not many slayers in the ordinary inner periphery, and Su Yu and Xia Jingyu needed a total of 4 pills to break through to the next level. The 2 of them combined would need 8 pills. With so many slayers, they could only be found in the depths of the inner periphery. However, with a casual sweep, Su Yu's pupils suddenly constricted. A level 8 lower-tier slayer. 3 miles away, a level 8 slayer was flying toward the outer periphery in a strange manner. Su Yu had an impression of this person. According to the information, he was the rapist of the Qinqing Empire, Yu Wuhua. It was rumored that none of the women targeted by him could escape his clutches. They were all raped and maimed to death by him. From the commoners to the concubines of the royal princes, they were all humiliated. He had wreaked havoc in the Qinqing Empire for a full 10 years. Countless women had been persecuted, and many chaste women could not bear the humiliation. They were too ashamed to live in this world and committed suicide. His scourge was abhorrent. In the end, the sanctuary intervened and captured him. Knowing that it was Yu Wuhua, Xia Jingyu, who was a woman, was even more disgusted. Now that their abilities had greatly increased, both of them breaking through to level 7, they did not need to fear a level 8. Let's give it a try. Xia Jingyu's beautiful eyes contained a hint of anticipation. With Su Yu's eyes locked onto Yu Wuhua, it was only a matter of thought. Half a day later, by a river, Su Yu and Xia Jingyu hid by the river, observing Yu Wuhua from afar. He was in his 30s, extremely young. His facial features were handsome, more beautiful than a woman's. Dressed in a flowing green robe, he had an elegant demeanor. If one did not see those evil eyes, it would be hard to imagine that this was the brutal rapist, Yu Wuhua. Haha, it is a pleasure to have friends come from afar. Since you 2 friends have come, why not come out and meet me? Yu Wuhua's eyes shot straight toward the place where Su Yu and Xia Jingyu were hiding. What a keen perception! Su Yu was secretly surprised. Swish, with a flash, Su Yu and Xia Jingyu stared at each other. This was their first confrontation with a strong level 8 in the truest sense. Yu Wuhua's gaze swept past Su Yu, stopping on Xia Jingyu. His eyes were bright and burning. Wonderful! Truly wonderful! I don't know how many women I've been blessed with, but there are no more than 5 who can compare to you. Xia Jingyu's pretty face was slightly angry. Destroying someone's chastity, causing them to be disabled, and you treat it as a blessing? Shameless, you deserve to die. Haha, little beauty, do you know that you're even more attractive when you're angry? I've decided, you'll serve me in bed tonight. Yu Wuhua's eyes were burning, openly sizing up Xia Jingyu. Su Yu's eyes were slightly cold, and he brazenly attacked. Icy heart core. Rumble. A pair of fists containing hidden ice struck with a loud bang. Yu Wuhua's mouth held a light smile, his eyes slightly dignified. He felt a strong threat from Su Yu's punch. Pow! Yu Wuhua took out a painting fan with a flip of his palm, covered it with vital energy, and suddenly pointed it. A fist and a painting fan suddenly collided. Boom! The painting fan condensed into ice, shattering several pieces. Yu Wuhua's expression slightly changed. He promptly abandoned the painting fan and retreated several steps. Su Yu was forced back several steps by the powerful vital energy of a level 8. Chapter 79. However, Su Yu had only used half of his strength. It seemed that after breaking through to level 7, his strength had indeed risen to another level. Although Yu Wuhua had not used his full strength, if the two were to go all out, Su Yu should be able to fight to a draw with a level 8. Just as he was about to attack again, a fragrant wind suddenly assaulted him. Xia Jingyu floated to his side. "Brother Yu, let me do it." With a hint of eagerness in her eyes, Xia Jingyu's whole body merged with the holy decree. The half-saint grade holy decree, the realm of nature, was everywhere. Her every movement was mighty and natural. Swish, the boundless realm of nature enveloped all directions. Xia Jingyu's beautiful eyes surged with deep comprehension. Su Yu was stunned. Was this Xia Jingyu perfecting the holy decree? Thinking about it, Su Yu immediately understood. In terms of comprehension, Xia Jingyu was more than 20 times better than Su Yu. Su Yu could cheat and use time to control comprehension. It was only natural that she would have some comprehension at this time. "Oh, the little beauty is going to do it yourself? I am deeply honored." Yu Wuhua's pair of lascivious eyes looked at Xia Jingyu's graceful body greedily. Although Su Yu was powerful, if that blow just now was his limit, then tonight this little beauty must be his plaything. However, when he noticed Xia Jingyu's half-saint grade holy decree, his face instantly turned serious. Xia Jingyu's snow-like eyes turned to deep comprehension. Her white finger pointed at Yu Wuhua, pointing from afar. Flower-pinching finger. Poof! Instantly. The blood in Yu Wuhua's chest seemed to be summoned, breaking through his flesh and opening a finger-sized bloody hole in his chest. Blood spurted out. Yu Wuhua's expression changed, aghast. With Xia Jingyu's finger pointing, Yu Wuhua's body seemed to explode, with bloody holes appearing one after another. Yu Wuhua could sense that Xia Jingyu was still in the exploration stage. Once she matured and used it, she could make all the blood in his body gush out and kill him on the spot. Swoosh! Yu Wuhua was terrified. How could he dare lust for Xia Jingyu's beauty? As a rapist, Yu Wuhua was not good at fighting, but at movement techniques. A clear shadow flickered, its speed extremely fast. Swish! But at that moment, a purple figure suddenly caught up. Feast of Ice and Thunder. Su Yu's movements were natural, and the power of ice and thunder condensed between his fingers at the same time. The alternating purple and white light beam pierced through Yu Wuhua's chest. Ah, puff! Yu Wuhua was horrified. He was injured. This youth actually possessed a mysterious saint-grade holy decree as well. Flower-picking finger. Right at this moment, a cold voice came from behind him. Puff, puff. Yu Wuhua's bloody holes continued to burst open, and blood gushed out of his body. In just a short moment, he had lost 40% of his blood. Putong, bearing the joint holy will attack of the two, Yu Wuhua fell to the ground with serious injuries. However, it was not over yet. Netherworld Demon Pupil. The dark green light flickered in an instant, and Yu Wuhua's mind suffered endless pain. After a long while, Yu Wuhua stood respectfully on Su Yu's body, his eyes lifeless. As Su Yu and Xia Jingyu looked at each other, they both felt slightly indifferent. With their combined strength, they were already able to subdue a level 8 lower tier. If it was a one-on-one fight, there was no need to fear a level 8 lower tier. His improvement was unimaginable. Not long ago, in front of a level 8 lower tier, they could only flee. As Su Yu collected the elixir and searched Yu Wuhua's soul, Xia Jingyu fell into a state of enlightenment. Her holy decree had also stepped into the ranks of the saint grade from half-saint grade. The improvement of her holy decree gave her a new understanding of the reverie of dewdrops. After a long while, Xia Jingyu slowly opened her eyes filled with joy. Brother Yu, I have broken through to the upper tier of this deity-level cultivation technique. Su Yu was envious. Both of them had broken through to the deity-level cultivation technique, but he had narrowly escaped with his life, while Xia Jingyu had come to the right place. The gap in their powers of comprehension was jaw-dropping. Xia Jingyu's strength had greatly improved, catching up to Su Yu's level. Now that they had joined forces again, even if 2 level 8 lower tiers came together, they were confident they could make them stay. Now that they had obtained a Saint-grade spirit elixir, they still needed 7 more to break through to level 7 upper tier. With a flash of excitement in his eyes, Su Yu said, "Jingyu, our chance has come." It turned out that the reason Yu Wuhua had rushed to the periphery was because a team of extremely powerful sanctuary disciples had killed their way to the core area. With the 3 of them joining forces, countless level 8 slayers had died or been injured. They were undoubtedly the combination of Long Xiaoye and the 2nd and 3rd ranked prospective holy disciples. Their strength was enough to sweep away almost all the slayers. Yu Wuhua was lucky enough to escape and fled to the periphery. Like him, there were many level 8 strong men who had not come out of hiding, fleeing for their lives. At this time, if they went deeper into the inner periphery, they could intercept and kill many level 8 strong men. Swoosh, swoosh, 3 figures cut through the quiet mountain forest, heading toward the depths of the evil forest. 3 days later, Su Yu, Xia Jingyu, and Yu Wuhua stood at the junction between the inner periphery and the core area. Along the way, they had encountered many fleeing level 8 strong men. Unfortunately, they were in groups of 3 or 5, traveling together. Su Yu and the others could only temporarily retreat, not daring to make a move. As they got closer to the core area, there were more and more strong men. Suddenly, a light shout was heard. Su Yu used his pupils to look. 5 miles away, a heavenly sanctuary disciple was entangled with 2 strong men of level 8 lower tier. The heavenly sanctuary disciple was Yen Chu, a terrifying strong man ranked 3rd among the prospective holy disciples. At the age of 27 or 28, his strength had reached level 8 lower tier. At this time, Yen Chu was besieged by 2 level 8 lower tier slayers. He could only parry and was surrounded by danger. Su Yu's eyes lit up, and he charged forward with Xia Jingyu and Yu Wuhua. Yen Chu's chest was cut open with a huge blood groove, bleeding incessantly. His blood was pale, and his physical strength was overdrawn. In contrast, the 2 slayers, with their combined strength, were unscathed. "Big brother! He can't hold on any longer. Don't fight recklessly, just wear him down to avoid a counterattack." Yen Chu was furious. Their team had suddenly been intercepted by a large team of slayers. The 3 were scattered, and he was besieged by 2 of his peers. His life was in danger. Swoosh, swoosh, however, at this moment, 3 figures attacked as fast as lightning. The 3 were ferocious, like a torrent. The 2 slayers were injured in an instant. Infernal demon pupils. At the same time, a dark green light shone, and the 2 slayers screamed as they were controlled. All of this seemed to take a long time, but in fact, it happened in the blink of an eye. Yen Chu did not even have time to react. Among the sanctuary disciples, besides the 3 of them, was there such a powerful combination? It was Su Yu, who had resisted the Holy King, and Xia Jingyu, who had pleaded for Su Yu. The last one was a level 8 lower tier slayer. His eyes were dull, and he was being controlled. "It's you!" Yen Chu was shocked. In his memory, Su Yu and Xia Jingyu were the new generation of prospective holy disciples. Their abilities were barely passable, but they were only at the level of Zhangmingyi. Su Yu responded with a smile, and took away the 2 elixirs. In this way, there were a total of 3 saint-grade spirit elixirs. Now, with 2 level 8 lower tiers under his control, there were a total of 3 puppet. If they encountered a group of slayers, they could completely ambush them. Xia Jingyu's beautiful eyes flashed with joy. Looking at the situation, in less than 10 days, they might be able to collect 8 elixirs and break through to level 7 upper tier. Wait. Yen Chu saw them take away the elixirs and his brows slightly creased. Su Yu's eyes were slightly cold. Why, Senior Brother Yen, do you think we should not take the elixirs? He was already numb to the act of biting the hand that fed him. If Yen Chu did not know what was good for him, Su Yu would not be merciful. Unexpectedly, Yen Chu lightly shook his head. He did not covet the elixirs. That's not it. Since you were the ones who killed them, the elixirs should naturally belong to you. Then what advice does Senior Brother Yen have? Su Yu asked. Yen Chu looked around at the 3 puppets behind Su Yu, his eyes filled with joy. He then shot a glance at Su Yu and lightly nodded. He looked down at him and ordered, "From now on, you listen to my command and lead the 3 puppets to meet up with Senior Sister Long immediately." His gaze swept to Xia Jingyu beside him. He slightly frowned and hesitated for a moment. "For your sake, she can also come, as long as she does not drag us down." "All right. Let's go." Yen Chu was in a good mood. He waved his hand and headed back in the direction of the escape, looking for Long Xiaoye and the others. Unexpectedly, there was no movement behind him. Looking back, Su Yu turned a deaf ear. He tidied up and walked in the other direction. Yen Chu was slightly stunned. He coldly scolded, "Su Yu, what are you doing? Why are you not listening to my command?" Su Yu coldly glanced at him and asked, "Who do you think you are? Why should I listen to your command?" "You." Yen Chu had a strong sense of integrity. He patiently said, "When it comes to adapting to the enemy, of course, I am more suitable to command the puppets. That way, the puppets can play their role and achieve twice the result with half the effort. It is a good thing for you to listen to my command." Somewhat annoyed, Yen Chu snorted. "How many people want to curry favor with me? Now that I have given you the opportunity, you do not know how to cherish it." This was not a boast. As the 3rd-ranked prospective holy disciple, Yen Chu's qualifications were extraordinary. Many prospective holy disciples who wandered at the bottom could not stand the fierce competition. They all wanted to find a backer to avoid oppression, and at the same time, receive guidance and various resources. For this reason, there were countless prospective holy disciples who wanted to curry favor with him. If they could be ordered by him, it would definitely be something that those prospective holy disciples could not wish for. Unfortunately, it was difficult for ordinary prospective holy disciples to even see him, let alone have the opportunity to be ordered by him. New holy disciples like Su Yu and Xia Jingyu had average abilities. If they wanted to climb up the ranks earlier, it was a wise decision to rely on him. Shaking his head, Yen Chu realized that Su Yu and Xia Jingyu were only 14 years old. They were not well versed in the ways of the world and did not handle matters well enough. It was normal for them to be so impulsive. But what made Yen Chu angry was that Su Yu had a faint mocking look in his eyes. "Since you are so powerful, you can catch the puppets yourself. Why order me? Besides, leave the opportunity to curry favor with you to others. We do not care for it." Su Yu took Xia Jingyu and left indifferently. Yen Chu had a strong sense of integrity. "Su Yu, don't be so ungrateful. Once we return to the heavenly sanctuary, I can make it difficult for you to survive." Among the prospective holy disciples, who would dare to not give him face, with a secret order, there were plenty of prospective holy disciples who would make things difficult for Su Yu. "You!" Su Yu had a mocking smile on his face. Yen Chu could not help but laugh angrily. "Relying on the puppet, you are overconfident. Have you forgotten your own strength? You can try." Su Yu stood with his hands behind his back. He stepped out from the puppet. His meaning was obvious. Even without the puppet, he still had the qualifications to look down on Yen Chu. Repeatedly being looked down upon by Su Yu, Yen Chu was angry. He strode forward, his level 8 vital energy surging. "Fine. You are new, still immersed in the dream of being the heavens ruler of the empire. Let me teach you the cruel reality." Su Yu's patience had run out. Yen Chu felt too good about himself. Chapter 80. Swoosh. Just as the two were about to attack, two figures flew over. "Stop!" A delicate, dignified shout sent shivers down one's spine. Yan Chu trembled and had to stop. He turned back with awe in his eyes, respectfully greeting, "Senior Sister Long, Senior Brother Qin." A young woman with an impressive figure and an elegant young man in a white robe walked over side by side. They were the strongest prospective holy disciples that countless prospective holy disciples looked up to. Long Xiaoye, a level 8 peak prospective holy disciple, was the strongest person closest to becoming a holy disciple. Qin Yueming, a level 8 upper tier prospective holy disciple, was only a few steps away from becoming a holy disciple. The arrival of the two gathered a deep sense of oppression. Su Yu and Xia Jingyu's hearts thumped. This was the evil forest. If Long Xiaoye and Qin Mingyue had ill intentions, they would not be spared. In particular, Long Xiaoye was a little provocative toward Su Yu. Su Yu's desire to become a holy disciple had aroused Long Xiaoye's dissatisfaction. Long Xiaoye had a calm temperament, like an unsheathed sword. She would split the earth if she did not move. A pair of cold eyes landed on Su Yu's figure for a long time. Just as Su Yu and Xia Jingyu were preparing for the worst, she lightly nodded. "No wonder you have the heart to rebel against the Holy King. Your ability is also impressive. In just 10 days, you broke through to level 7 lower tier. Amazing!" Yan Chu was slightly stunned. 10 days ago, he was only a level 5 upper tier. Now, he was a strong level 7. The speed of his progress was incredible. She glanced at the puppets behind Su Yu, secretly disdainful. "If I also cultivated the technique to control puppets, I could sweep the evil forest alone." Long Xiaoye glanced at the 3 puppets behind Su Yu and nodded. "How about cooperating with us? We are about to step into the core area and kill the rumored Slayer King." "Slayer King? The strongest level 9 Slayer?" Su Yu and Xia Jingyu gasped in shock. Rumor had it that the Slayer King had used 3 true holy disciples to capture him alive, and one of the holy disciples had been injured. This showed the ruthlessness of the Slayer King. At the same time, the Slayer King also had 2 divine-grade spirit elixirs. Its effects were immeasurable. Long Xiaoye did not hesitate to take the risk and venture deeper. It could be seen how tempting this pill was. Su Yu muttered to himself for a moment. Mentally, Su Yu could accept working with Long Xiaoye and the others, but rationally, Xia Jingyu voiced out Su Yu's concerns. "Senior Sister Long, please forgive me for speaking bluntly. If we join forces, it may not be too much of a problem to sweep through the evil forest, but capturing and killing a level 9 might not be enough." The threshold between the 8th heaven and the 9th heaven was like the difference between heaven and earth. Long Xiaoye's pretty face was brimming with confidence. "Since I dared to come here, I definitely have full confidence." Shua Long Xiaoye took out a fiery red ball with a flip of her palm. It contained a frightening power. This is the Fire Spirit Pearl, which contains the absolute power of a Saint King. With a single strike, even a level 9 lower heaven tier expert would be reduced to ashes. This was the only one Long Xiaoye had earned in exchange for capturing slayers for the holy region over the years. Moreover, senior brother Qiu Changjian, who besieged the Slayer King, said that in that battle, the Slayer King was seriously injured and his cultivation fell below the 9th heaven. "He's only slightly stronger than me. If you guys join us, killing him will be a sure thing." Long Xiaoye smiled at Su Yu and Xia Jingyu. "How about it? If you are willing, I can help you break through to level 7 upper tier now." Su Yu and Xia Jingyu were instantly tempted. Were they going to fight the Slayer King so soon? The two looked at each other and pondered for a long time. Su Yu slowly nodded. "Yes. But we must first break through. 5 spirit elixirs will suffice." "Yan Chu, give it to them." Long Xiaoye smiled and readily agreed. 5? Yan Chu was extremely pained. But most of the spirit elixirs he had were given by Long Xiaoye. The saint-grade spirit elixirs had little effect on Long Xiaoye, so she had given all the elixirs she had killed along the way to Yen Chu. Yen Chu took out 5 elixirs from his robes, his heart filled with hatred. Why give them to Su Yu? If Long Xiaoya forcefully ordered him, would Su Yu dare to resist in the face of absolute power? As if sensing Yen Chu's unwillingness, Long Xiaoya lightly shook her head. You should be glad that you did not fight with Su Yu. Otherwise, you would be in deep trouble. Intentionally or unintentionally, Long Xiaoya glanced at the 3 puppets. In the Sanctuary Divine Pavilion, the existence of the 3 deity-level techniques was an open secret among the 10 great prospective holy disciples. However, even among the true holy disciples, only the strongest holy disciple, Zhao Guang, could comprehend it, much less the prospective holy disciples. Su Yu's method of controlling the puppets reminded Long Xiaoya of one of the 3 deity-level techniques, infernal demon pupils. If Su Yu's method of controlling the puppets came from infernal demon pupils, did it mean that he had also comprehended the other 2 deity-level techniques? If so, Su Yu's terrifying abilities could not be measured by cultivation level. Yen Chu misunderstood Long Xiaoya's gaze, thinking that Long Xiaoya was referring to the puppets being very strong. If Yen Chu had forcefully attacked, he would have been seriously injured by the puppets. His face turned green and red. Yen Chu unwillingly humphed. What's so great about relying on the puppets? With my personal abilities, I could crush him with just 1 finger. Long Xiaoya secretly shook her head, no longer explaining. Next, Su Yu and Xia Jingyu, who had unexpectedly obtained 5 saint-grade spirit elixirs, swallowed them under the protection of many and broke through on the spot. Half an hour later. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Su Yu and Xia Jingyu both broke through to level 7 upper tier. Yen Chu was secretly jealous. Back then, when they had broken through to level 7, how many years and twists and turns had they gone through? Su Yu and Xia Jingyu, on the other hand, had many fortuitous encounters in the evil forest. In just 10 days, they had broken through from level 5 upper tier to level 7 upper tier. Long Xiaoya's eyes were calm. She did not think that Su Yu and the others' breakthroughs were due to luck. The evil forest had long existed, but how many people with insufficient cultivation levels could break through consecutively in 10 days like Su Yu and Xia Jingyu? Throughout history, it was as rare as phoenix feathers and unicorn horns. The opportunities were equal. The evil forest was in front of them, but they did not dare to take the risk or were not strong enough. Like Yen Chu, before reaching level 7, he would not dare to take the risk to enter the evil forest, so his breakthrough was slow. Those who were jealous of Su Yu and Xia Jingyu's fortuitous encounters should reflect on why they could survive in the evil forest and gradually become stronger, but they did not even have the courage to enter. Feeling the abundant strength of level 7 upper tier, Su Yu and Xia Jingyu's faces were full of joy. If they encountered another level 8 lower tier, Su Yu and Xia Jingyu were confident they could easily kill them. A level 8 upper tier was invincible in a one-on-one fight, and with the 2 of them working together, it would not be difficult to kill them. Long Xiaoya chuckled. For the rest of the journey, snatching elixirs will depend on your own ability. I will not be biased. Let's go. A team of 8 people, each with strength comparable to a level 8 upper tier. Along the way, they were invincible, and all the villains they encountered were killed. In just 3 days, Su Yu and Xia Jingyu had seized 6 elixirs with their advantage in numbers. However, Su Yu gradually became puzzled. The core area was where the villains gathered, but in these 3 days, the closer they got to the core area, the fewer villains there were. Long Xiaoya also felt that something was wrong and secretly frowned. That ancient Great Hall is the resting place of the Slayer King. Suppressing the doubts in her heart, Long Xiaoya hid in the forest and quietly pointed to a great hall 2 miles away, hidden in the lush green forest. Su Yu used his pupils to look, his expression slightly cold. Near the great hall, there are 3 level 8 upper tiers guarding it. Long Xiaoya stared at Su Yu strangely. How do you know in such detail? Senior Qiu Changjian said that the Slayer King was once a prince of a country. He launched a failed coup and became a bandit, killing indiscriminately. There were 4 loyal guards around him who were captured and brought back to the evil forest. Among them, 1 was a level 8 peak, and the other 3 were level 8 upper tier. This information was not in the information, so how did Su Yu know? At the same time, Long Xiaoye was even more curious about Su Yu's strength. Along the way, he and Xia Jingyu had almost never made a move. They had all been commanding the 3 puppets to kill the enemy. Su Yu's pupils shrank. There was another level 8 peak? He fixed his gaze but did not see where the level 8 peak slayer was. Yan Chu's nostrils flared, squinting. Playing tricks. Along the way, Su Yu had only relied on the puppets to kill the enemy, which made him jealous and angry. Alright, get ready to attack. Long Xiaoye's eyes were sharp. 3 level 8 upper tier guards, we will take them down one by one, swarm them, and kill them in an instant. Then concentrate our strength and besiege the level 8 peak. I will deal with the level 9 Slayer King. Long Xiaoye formulated a reasonable plan. Everyone nodded and quietly crept forward. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. 8 figures blotted out the sky and covered the earth, like a flood and ferocious beast. Among them were level 8 peak and level 8 upper tier. With such a powerful combination, a level 8 upper tier slayer could only die on the spot. After killing the slayer, Su Yu reacted quickly. With a roll of the entwined dragon silk, he snatched the elixir before Yan Chu and Qin Mingwei could. Yan Chu and Qin Mingwei had no time to complain and immediately surrounded the second slayer. With 2 screams, the last 2 level 8 upper tier slayers perished on the spot. Their dying counterattack caused Su Yu to sacrifice one of his puppets. But the reward was that the elixirs of the 3 slayers were all snatched by Su Yu. As a result, he had gathered 9 saint-grade spirit elixirs. If he could gather one more, he and Xia Jingyu would have a chance to break through to level 7 peak. However, of the remaining slayers, one was a level 8 peak slayer, and the other was the legendary Slayer King. After we break in, you guys will besiege the level 8 peak guards, and I will kill the Slayer King. Long Xiaoye's eyes flashed, a layer of sweat forming on her palms. The Slayer King, the level 9 peerless slayer, had to be killed in one blow. Although he was seriously injured, if he did not die, he could still absolutely crush all of them. Su Yu and Xia Jingyu were on guard. Swish, the group moved. Boom, under the combined efforts of the 8, the doors of the great hall burst open. However, what greeted everyone's eyes was an empty great hall. At the highest point, there was an ancient and decaying throne. On that throne, a majestic figure was faintly discernible. It was like an ancient king. A tyrannical aura like a wild beast rushed toward them. Su Yu's breathing stagnated, and he exclaimed in a low voice, "The Slayer King." Chapter 81. Long Xiaoye fixed her gaze on the Slayer King, her expression changing rapidly. According to the information, the Slayer King was clearly severely injured. How could he have recovered? Hee. A hoarse laugh pierced through the air. Interesting, this is the first time a sanctuary disciple has dared to attack me. Swish, the Slayer King slowly stood up. His terrifying level 9 aura was like a great river flowing from the east, shaking everyone's heart. It was confirmed that he had really recovered. The Slayer King, who was severely injured, and a fully recovered Slayer King were worlds apart in terms of strength. The situation was unexpected. Long Xiaoye's breathing quickened, her palms covered in sweat. The Slayer King slowly walked down from the throne, revealing his figure from the shadows. He was a middle-aged man with a pale face and cold eyes. Even though he was standing still, he emitted a frightening power. He coldly swept his gaze across the crowd, his gaze landing on the 3 Slayer guards outside the palace. The Slayer King's eyes were filled with hostility, his killing intent soaring. "I shall grant you death for killing my men." The Slayer King's figure was like lightning. His speed was so fast that even Su Yu's time manipulation could not compare. The crowd could only see a series of blurry shadows, unable to capture the Slayer King's presence. The threat of death loomed over everyone's hearts. Feeling the impending threat of death, Su Yu growled, "Hold him back!" Swoosh, swoosh. The two puppets were not afraid of death. Their figures swayed as they attacked the Slayer King. Soul control technique. I'll kill you first. The two puppets only caused the Slayer King to pause for a moment. A pair of fists emerged from the blurry shadows and landed on the puppets. Boom! As strong as level 8 lower-tier martial artists, they were simultaneously shattered into countless pieces of flesh. At the same time, a spine-chilling wave of vital energy surged towards Su Yu. The speed and power were suffocating. "Be careful!" Long Xiaoya shouted, charging forward like lightning to block the attack for Su Yu. With a blood-curdling scream, Long Xiaoya's arms were fractured. She screamed as she flew backward, blood flowing from her mouth. A mere wave of vital energy had seriously injured Long Xiaoya. Level 9 was so terrifying. The Slayer King coldly looked at her. "You overestimate yourself." Whoosh, however, when Long Xiaoya spat out a mouthful of blood, a red round object came out of her mouth. The color was the same as fresh blood, and it shot towards the Slayer King. The Slayer King only thought that his internal organs had been shattered. With a sneer on his face, he tilted his head slightly and dodged the attack without moving his feet. You can't even withstand a single blow. However, when the organs reached the side of his head, a wisp of holy power that made his pupils shrink suddenly came from his internal organs. Explode! Without giving him any time to react, Long Xiaoya bellowed. Rumble! The deafening roar seemed like it was going to destroy the entire hall. Boundless saint energy erupted with absolute destructive power. Layers upon layers of air billowed, as if they could topple mountains and overturn the seas. Xia Jingyu let out a soft groan as she was sent flying by the shockwave. Su Yu's expression changed abruptly, and he was also sent flying by the earth-shattering energy wave. In the nick of time, he used the floating light shadow technique and held on to Xia Jingyu's slender waist. At the same time, the entwined dragon silk shot out and wrapped around the stone pillars in the hall. Only then did it not get blown away. The shockwave dissipated and dust filled the air. Su Yu activated his pupils and was pleasantly surprised to find that within the dust, the Slayer King had died on the spot. His head had been blasted into a bloody mess, and he could not have been more dead. Whoosh! Su Yu turned into a purple shadow and flew over. At that moment, Long Xiaoya also flew over. The two of them landed beside the Slayer King's corpse to snatch the elixir. Slap! Su Yu kicked over the Slayer King's corpse, revealing his back, and reached for the jade bottle on his back. However, Su Yu's hand stopped in midair, and he did not reach for it. His eyes flashed violently, and his face turned pale. Whoosh! Without hesitation, Su Yu flew to Xia Jingyu's side, grabbed her, and frantically ran out of the hall. Long Xiaoya hesitated for a moment, and fixed her gaze on the jade bottle. Her expression changed, and was immediately filled with a thick sense of horror. Swoosh! Long Xiaoya's heart thumped wildly. She followed closely behind Su Yu, frantically running out of the hall. Qin Mingyue, Yen Chu, run quickly! Because of her nervousness, Long Xiaoya's voice had lost all confidence and calmness, only deep fear. The two of them turned back to look at the Slayer King. His head had exploded, and within the jade bottle on his back, a fiery red elixir sat quietly. He was clearly dead, so why were they fleeing in fear? Xia Jingyu's heart trembled, and she exclaimed in Su Yu's arms, "Brother Yu, what happened? Is the Slayer King in danger?" Su Yu's expression was extremely ugly, and his heart was thumping wildly. "It's not that the Slayer King is in danger, it's that was not the Slayer King. The real Slayer King is not dead." Xia Jingyu's delicate body trembled, and her pretty face turned pale. The spiritual fire pearl had already been used. If the real Slayer King appeared and chased after them, wouldn't they? Yan Chu and Qin Mingyue heard this, and their expressions turned grave. Senior Long, is he really not the Slayer King? Yan Chu and Qin Mingyue's lips trembled, and their hearts were filled with horror. Long Xiaoye's jade-like face was filled with horror. Indeed not. Behind the Slayer King's back were 2 divine-grade spirit elixirs. This level 9 Slayer only had one, and it was an ordinary saint-grade spirit elixir. If I'm not wrong, he should be that level 8 peak guard. But we don't know when he broke through to level 9. We mistook him for the Slayer King. As for how he broke through, everyone had a sudden idea. When they entered the core area, they discovered that the number of Slayers had decreased sharply. Where did they go? Before this, everyone had their doubts. Now, the answer was obvious. They had all been killed by the Slayer King and the 4 guards, and their elixirs had been stolen. With the help of the elixir, the leader of the 4 guards, who was level 8 peak, had successfully broken through to level 9. From the beginning to the end, what they faced was not the Slayer King. The real Slayer King must still be nearby. Yan Chu and Qin Mingyue's faces turned pale. The real Slayer King was not dead. A shiver from the depths of their souls spread throughout their souls. Without anyone's urging, they unleashed their unprecedented potential and frantically fled. Swoosh, 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 streaks of light like blurred shadows floated in the dark forest. They escaped from the core area at a speed faster than when they came. This escape lasted for 3 days and 3 nights. Other than when they were physically exhausted, they would take a short break. At other times, they did not stop for even a moment. 3 days that tested their spirit and willpower, allowed them to unleash their unprecedented potential. Except for Xia Jingyu, who was in Su Yu's arms, safe and sound. The rest of them were dressed in rags like beggars. Even Long Xiaoye's tight-fitting leather clothes were damaged in many places, revealing a large patch of her dazzling snow-white skin. Fortunately, although it was tiring, the 3 days of escape had finally yielded some results. Phew, Yan Chu and Qin Mingyue stopped to catch their breath. Senior Long, we have already left the core area. We will return to the periphery immediately. The Slayer King should not be able to catch up to us. Long Xiaoye thought for a moment, lightly nodding her head. She looked towards Su Yu and Xia Jingyu. Let's rest here for a moment to adjust our condition. What do you 2 think? 3 days of escape was not a small burden for her. Su Yu slowly shook his head, not slowing down in the slightest. He said, "The day we let our guard down is often the most dangerous time. I will not stop until we have completely left the evil forest." Whoosh, leaving behind a wispy voice, Su Yu disappeared from their sight. Long Xiaoye could not help but ponder. Su Yu's words were reasonable. They should not let their guard down until they had left the evil forest. Yan Chu coldly sneered, "Senior Long, why bother with people like him? To put it nicely, he is cautious. To put it bluntly, he is as timid as a mouse." Qin Mingyue also somewhat disliked Su Yu, only because he had stolen too many elixirs. She lightly nodded. "We are too far ahead of the Slayer King. With his level 9 lower tier strength, it would be difficult for him to catch up to us. If he could not calculate this clearly, it shows that Su Yu lacks the ability to judge the situation. Let him escape, we will rest on our own." Seeing the 2 calm and composed, determined to rest, Long Xiaoye was helpless. Although she understood that Su Yu was the wisest person, she could not abandon the 2 of them. She could only stop and rest. The 3 of them leaned against an ancient tree and quietly rested. Suddenly, Long Xiaoye saw the shadow of the tree on the ground move slightly. She subconsciously looked up. However, this glance scared her out of her wits. On the branch of the tree they were leaning against, stood a middle-aged man. He was dressed in a gray robe, his facial features were regular, his eyes clear, and there was an aura of a king surrounding him. He stood with his hands clasped behind his back, his demeanor leisurely, like a cat hunting a mouse, calmly looking down at the three of them. Without a sound, it was as if he had become one with nature. If Long Xiaoya had not subconsciously glanced up, she would not have noticed the existence of a human above her. In an instant, Long Xiaoya's throat seemed to be blocked by something, and she struggled to spit out a few words. The Slayer King. Level 9 Upper Tier. It was indeed impossible for a Level 9 Lower Tier Slayer King to catch up to them. However, a Level 9 Upper Tier Slayer King was more than enough to easily catch up to them. Yan Chu and Qin Mingwei heard this and looked up. They were instantly scared out of their wits. Not only had the Slayer King chased them, but he had also been standing on top of their heads. In other words, the Slayer King had actually caught up to them long ago. He just did not show himself. Yan Chu's body stiffened, and he lost the courage to even move. Whoosh! Qin Mingwei was scared out of his wits. He instinctively suppressed his fear and quickly fled. No! Long Xiaoya exclaimed. Unfortunately, it was too late to stop him. The Slayer King had a mocking smile on his face. Escaped mouse eliminated. Extending a finger, the Slayer King pointed into the distance. Hundreds of meters away, Qin Mingyue's body suddenly exploded into a rain of blood. Yan Chu's soul trembled and he was filled with regret. If he had known this would happen, he would have escaped with Su Yu. That way, he might have had a chance of survival. Withdrawing his finger, the Slayer King looked down at the two of them with a mocking expression. Among the five of you, only the boy in purple who escaped is barely interesting. Follow me. Swoosh, the Slayer King flew towards Su Yu. Long Xiaoya bit her lip, not daring to disobey, and followed the Slayer King. Chapter 82. Su Yu hugged Xia Jingyu as he ran. From start to finish, he had not let down his guard, nor had he given up on observing the movements behind him. Suddenly, whoosh, Su Yu took out 9 elixirs and stuffed 5 into Xia Jingyu's hands. What are you? Xia Jingyu did not understand. Su Yu looked down at Xia Jingyu and whispered, Jingyu, if I do not leave the evil forest one day, please go to Fenghuang Valley on my behalf. Xia Jingyu had a bad feeling, but Su Yu did not give her a chance to speak. If I die, the Holy King will not make things difficult for you. He will extract the holy energy from your body. Su Yu was deeply apologetic. When the time comes, if you are strong enough, please go to Fenghuang Valley on my behalf and tell Xiener. I, Su Yu, have never let her down. Su Yu was disappointed. Xia Jingyu's heart ached. Once upon a time, Xiener was her best friend. She did not know when, but what she feared the most was hearing the words, Xiener, from Su Yu's mouth. It was as if Xiener would snatch away the source of her peace of mind. Just like that day in the Duke's palace, under the moonlight, Xiener had snatched Su Yu's embrace. All right. Xia Jingyu's hands clutched her clothes tightly. Although she felt bitter, she nodded in agreement. Su Yu belonged to Xiener. Xia Jingyu sighed in her heart. Su Yu smiled gratefully. If that is the case, let us part ways. Jingyu, live on. Without waiting for Xia Jingyu to react, Su Yu's eyes suddenly shot out a jet black light. Demonic eyes could cause a person to faint if used at will. Xia Jingyu struggled for a while, then closed her eyes unwillingly. As she struggled, her eyes were filled with confusion. The last thing reflected in her beautiful eyes was Su Yu's apologetic smile, as well as a wisp of farewell. Whoosh! As Su Yu flew down, he hid Xia Jingyu in a hidden tree hole. Then he flew in a certain direction, frantically escaping. A moment later, Su Yu arrived in a valley. Looking back, he laughed bitterly to himself. Swoosh! A middle-aged man in gray had a mocking smile on his face as he leisurely walked over. Long Xiaoya and Yan Chu followed behind him with ugly expressions. The Slayer King scanned the area but did not see Xia Jingyu. His smile deepened, and he looked at Su Yu with interest. You're very smart. Out of everyone here, you were the first to discover my existence. You knew that it would be difficult to escape my pursuit, so you hid that female companion in advance? the Slayer King said with admiration. But, this is a cat, appreciating a cunning mouse. After appreciating it, it was time to enjoy the delicacies. Su Yu's eyes were sharp, and he secretly took a deep breath to calm his trembling heart. The Slayer King, level 9 upper tier, was only a few steps away from becoming a legend of martial arts. However, Su Yu had his own confidence. It was still unknown who would have the last laugh. Narrowing his eyes, Su Yu carefully observed the Slayer King's movements. Hee. The Slayer King came to the entrance of the valley, but he did not proceed any further. Instead, he stopped and looked around with a mocking smile. Let me guess. The valley is obviously a place of despair, but you still chose to enter it. I'm guessing that there must be some kind of trap or mechanism inside, right? For example, under my feet. The Slayer King sneered as he looked down at his feet. 3 centimeters in front of his toes, there was a transparent silk thread that was difficult to see with the naked eye. The silk thread was entwined on both sides of the stone wall. If one were to rush over at high speed, their feet could be cut off. Whoosh, the Slayer King laughed lightly. With a tap of his toes, the entwined dragon silk snapped. The trap was destroyed, and the Slayer King took a step forward. Su Yu's pupils constricted. However, the Slayer King's foot slowly retracted in midair. He did not take another step forward. A hint of surprise appeared in his eyes, accompanied by a strong sense of mockery. Interesting, a series of traps. I was almost fooled by you. Boom! The Slayer King gathered vital energy between his fingers and bombarded the area below the entwined dragon silk. Boom! A trap pit that had been dug long ago with dozens of sharp thorns suddenly appeared. This was a series of traps. If the entwined dragon silk was discovered in advance, the enemy would lower their guard and fall into the second trap because they had already broken the first trap. It could be said that every step was filled with danger, a meticulous plan. Su Yu's expression suddenly darkened. What a cunning Slayer King! He actually managed to break through all the traps. Long Xiaoya thought it was a pity. With a cold smile, the Slayer King crossed the pit trap, calm and unruffled. How do the 3 of you think I should deal with you? He asked playfully. Long Xiaoya and Yan Chu flew to Su Yu's side, their faces filled with despair. Perhaps this small valley would be their burial ground. However, what surprised them was that the Slayer King did not make a move. Or rather, a hunting cat was not satisfied. I'll give you a way out. Kill one of us and you can leave alive. The Slayer King stood with his hands behind his back, his eyes filled with playfulness. Whoosh! Almost instantly, Su Yu and the other 2 separated, each on guard against the other. Su Yu and Yan Chu were most wary of Long Xiaoya. A level 8 peak was enough to kill both of them at once. However, Long Xiaoya did not make a move. Instead, she said seriously, "Don't worry. I won't make a move. If you die, he will lose interest and I will be killed immediately." Hearing this, although Su Yu did not completely let down his guard, he secretly heaved a sigh of relief. Long Xiaoya's words carried enormous weight. She did not like tricks, and at the same time, her words were very reasonable. Once the Slayer King was satisfied, Long Xiaoya would die. Believing the Slayer King's words was akin to a moth flying into a flame, seeking death. However, in times of crisis, people would see any illusory hope as the light to survive. Such as Yan Chu. Boom! Yan Chu clenched his teeth, his gaze changing drastically. He suddenly charged toward Su Yu. A wisp of vital energy attacked Su Yu's heart. Whoosh! Su Yu was prepared and dodged in time, glaring angrily. "Do you really believe that if you kill me, he will let you go?" His eyes filled with deep fear. Yan Chu had already lost his ability to think calmly. He growled, "Whether I believe it or not, this is my only choice. What if the Slayer King kept his promise?" Among the 3 of them, Yan Chu was no match for Long Xiaoya, but he thought he could crush Su Yu. Failing in his first attack, Yan Chu growled and attacked again. Great cloud hand of the western sky. Vital energy gathered in Yan Chu's palm, as if a boundless giant hand was coming towards Su Yu. Boom, boom, boom. Vital energy flew wildly, filling the air with murderous intent. Su Yu, accept your fate, you are no match for me. In order to avoid suffering, I can grant you a quick death. Yan Chu's eyes were filled with deep pity as he said this. Su Yu laughed angrily, pretending to be compassionate. Yan Chu wanted to kill him, but at the same time sympathized with him. Do you really think you can defeat me? Su Yu's eyes gradually turned cold. Long Xiaoye had stopped him in time during his previous battle with Yan Chu. He did not expect this battle to be unavoidable. Yan Chu's giant palm was already approaching. His expression was indifferent, filled with confidence and a hidden sense of contempt. Lightly shaking his head, Yan Chu stared at Su Yu and sighed. You still do not repent even at death's door. It seems that after experiencing so much, you are still immersed in the dream of being the heavens ruler of the empire. Now, without the puppet to rely on, you are vulnerable. Senior brother's greatest regret is that during the battle a few days ago, I did not make you realize the cruel reality in time. Now you no longer have the chance. This is my fault. Sigh. Yan Chu sighed with pity, sneering in his heart. Rumble. Su Yu retaliated with an ordinary palm strike. The two palms collided silently. Yan Chu's face of fake pity first stiffened, then turned serious, then painful, followed by panic, fear, and finally a shrill scream. Crack, with the sound of ice freezing, the screaming figure in his life was completely frozen into an ice sculpture. Within the ice sculpture there was no sign of life, only a cold corpse. Su Yu stood in place, slowly retracting his fist that was surrounded by cold energy. He shook his head indifferently. The one who is truly vulnerable is you, senior brother. This is the cruel reality. Long Xiaoye's pupil shrank. He had killed Yan Chu with one move. She had doubted Su Yu's abilities many times, but she had never thought that he could kill Su Yu with one move. To Yan Chu, this was indeed the cruel reality. The Slayer King's mocking smile slightly stiffened as he took a light breath. Deity-level cultivation technique. Immediately, his mocking smile deepened. Interesting. You are a genius who has comprehended a deity-level cultivation technique, and it looks like you have mastered it. Interesting. Then, the two of you can begin the battle. Whoever wins will live. The Slayer King looked like he was eager to watch a good show. Su Yu and Long Xiaoye did not make a move. According to the Slayer King, killing one person would save one's life. Su Yu was forced to kill Yan Chu, but he did not get a chance to live. Without a doubt, the Slayer King did not keep his word. Even if Su Yu and Long Xiaoye fought to the death, he would not let anyone leave. Therefore, Su Yu and Long Xiaoye did not make a move. It was better to die a martyr's death than to be toyed with by the Slayer King. Seeing that the two of them did not make a move, the Slayer King's mocking smile gradually disappeared. His smiling eyes were filled with a cold, killing intent. Boring rats, die. Boom! The cold, killing intent soared into the sky. All living creatures fled in fear. Taking a step forward, the Slayer King, who had lost his patience, finally decided to execute them. However, Su Yu's expression remained the same. His lips curled into a mocking smile. Do you really think you are a cat playing with rats? Su Yu sneered as he lightly stepped on the ground. If one looked closely, they would realize that Su Yu had not moved a single step since his battle with Yan Chu. Beneath his feet was a transparent silk thread that could not be easily moved. At that moment, as the Slayer King took a step forward, Su Yu stepped on the entwined dragon silk. Boom! A muffled explosion sounded, as if a water bag or something similar had shattered. Black liquid, with a foul stench, exploded beneath the Slayer King's feet. The sky was filled with black rain, drenching the Slayer King from head to toe. Ah! A blood-curdling scream came from the Slayer King's mouth. It was as if he was suffering from an immense pain. The black rain on the Slayer King's body contained an extremely potent poison. The Slayer King's entire body was festering from the poison. His handsome face was a mess of flesh and blood. Parts of his body festered so badly that even his bones could be seen. His legs were at the source of the poisonous rain. In an instant, only his pitch-black bones were left, his flesh and blood rotting into liquid. The gray robe on his torso instantly rotted, turning a large part of his body into a bloody mess. Long Xiaoye gasped. What kind of poison was this? How could it be so terrifying? Where did Su Yu set up so much poison?